Appreciate that. Grab a seat, feeling great? Well, good morning, welcome along. As Matt mentioned, my name's Jamie McIntyre. I'm sure I've had a chance to meet some of you, and who's been out there watching DVDs instead of TV of late? Like a few of you. Just show of hands, who is a 21st century member or a spouse of a 21st century member? Just show of hands, okay? And just keep your hands up nice and high if this is the very first seminar with 21st century. Okay, so there's a few here for the very first time. And who's been to our 4-day Education for Life event? Just going to show of a room. Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome along. It gives me a bit of an idea of where you're up to as far as the different stages of education. This program I enjoy teaching. I say it's my second most favourite program to teach other than the 4-day Education for Life event. But I really enjoy teaching entrepreneurship and the exciting opportunities that have existed for some years now on the internet that are continuing to get even more exciting. Because what's exciting about this program is that when you learn about certain, say, investment strategies, often you need some sort of capital to take advantage of those. What's great about what we're going to learn about today and over the next few days is that it's a level playing field. Actually, there's many things we'll talk about here you don't actually need any capital. Who could be excited by that, by the way, okay? Because the biggest challenge you have in helping most people become wealthy, or why people don't have the dreams that they want, the lifestyle, they will blame the lack of what, do you think? Lack of money, which is just an excuse anyhow, but we'll look at that. But certainly today we'll be able to eliminate that excuse, because what we're going to talk about on the internet and business, I think really gives anyone the opportunity to create the lifestyle of a millionaire effectively. And what's exciting about that, you could effectively develop that lifestyle, I believe, in the next 12 to 24 months or less without even needing to become a millionaire. Who would like to have a millionaire's lifestyle without actually having to become a millionaire? Okay, and who wants to become a millionaire regardless? Okay, so whatever, you can certainly learn how to do that. But I think what's important is that the strategies are realistic and applicable. And how this program became about was that about 4 years ago, I was one of my colleagues had said to me, "Do you remember such and such?" A mutual friend of ours that I hadn't seen for many years. And I said, "Yeah, I remember that gentleman." And I said, "He's a doctor, right?" And he said, "Yeah, well, he used to be a doctor." And however, he gave up, he quit being a doctor because he's making up to $90,000 US a month on the internet. And this was many years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, when making money on the internet was not so common. These days, who knows of someone that's making some decent money on the internet? Who at least knows, someone, or certainly it's much more common these days. Back then, it was seen like, really very unrealistic. And so I became curious. Let me ask you this question. Who here would get curious if you had a friend that was making $90,000 a month US on the internet? It certainly got my curiosity because I didn't know a lot about the internet. I had preconceived ideas about how to go about generating. Actually, I didn't even know how to make money on the internet because no one ever taught me and I never really studied it. But it got my attention enough, and a seed was planted that day. So I sought out to catch up with my old friend that I hadn't seen for some time, really curious to learn how did he do this? How was he making up to that sort of money, and what was he doing? And and he'd heard I was doing quite well, so we caught up for lunch and exchanged ideas, and that was the beginning really of my internet career, because I'd actually found someone that was producing a result that I could see actually this could actually work. And he was doing a particular strategy, and what's great about today and this weekend is there's not just one way to go about making money on the internet. Okay? There's many different ways. And as a result of that conversation, that led me to saying, you know what? One, it is possible to make money online because now I have a friend that's proven it to me. Two, if the shortcut to success in anything, and I thought, well, I don't know how to make money online. It might be okay for other people, but what about me? Then I thought, hang on, Jamie, how did you become successful in real estate before you knew nothing about real estate? How did you become successful in the share market? How did you become successful as an entrepreneur? And I went back and realized I got started without having to know everything. You want to jot that down. Here's a good idea. Get started before you know everything. You know why? Because if you wait to know everything, you'll never get started. True? So we're going to get started this weekend if you're willing to play this game with me. If you're serious about this and you're open-minded enough to say, you know what, I'm eager to learn, I'm willing to take action, then you can start to see some results this weekend. That's exciting. It's not like let's learn something and hopefully in 3 years' time we've learned enough to maybe start to earn an income from it. These are things that you can actually start doing fairly quickly. So what I realized the shortcut had always been to success was to find people that already produced the results that I wanted. instead of trying to figure out how to do it myself, to go and learn off them. Does that make sense? How I learned about property. I knew nothing about property. I found people that were successful in that endeavor. I learned from them, and I modeled their success. Okay, model what they did. And who thinks that might be a good idea, by the way? The concept of modeling. For instance, one of my mentors, we'll talk about today, in business has been someone like Richard Branson. Now, you can model, someone like Richard Branson. It may not mean you become a billionaire like himself, but what if you only become a fraction as successful financially as Richard Branson? Who'd be comfortable just a fraction of his success, okay? So, in other words, modeling doesn't guarantee that you'll replicate the exact same results. You can say, well, I'm going to model Warren Buffett in the share market right now. Okay? It doesn't mean you're going to become worth $30 billion, okay? But if you can have just 1% of his success, who thinks that would be worthwhile, okay? And that's the point of modeling, because most people, one, they don't have the mentors or the model, and they're actually modeling the people around them. So we're all modeling. You think about children, is it true? When children are growing up, they learn completely by modeling. You ever notice that if you swear and a child starts modeling? Who's ever had that experience before? You have to be careful not to swear around children, because they will model everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, because they're great modelers, and that's how we learn. So we're not going to do anything different this weekend other than say, hang on, if we want to achieve a certain goal, then let's model people producing a certain result. So what I've done over the years, I've went out and sought out mentors and role models in each particular area, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in the share market, whether it's in entrepreneurship. And as I've learnt off them, applied those things and produced above average result. Okay, which I wouldn't have been able to produce otherwise. And now what I do also as an educator is that a lot of those people I've learnt off, I actually then get them to come in and share with you as well. So this weekend, you'll be able to pick the brains of over a dozen successful entrepreneurs, many multi-millionaires from the internet, several from the US that have flown in to be here this weekend to share with you, many from Australia as well, so with localized knowledge. So you're going to be able to effectively tap into literally decades of experience, and not only learn the fundamentals of internet marketing and business and how to be successful in those endeavors, but also access some of the latest technologies and the latest things. Because one thing about the internet, it changes rapidly. What may have been working 4 years ago may not work as well today. Who would agree with that? Okay, those who would know a little bit about that. So the goal of this program, what the goal has been when I created this program 3 or 4 years ago, was to say, what if I could create a program where the end result was to teach people how to generate, say, $4,000 a month or more in income within a 12 to 24 month time frame? So that's how I went about creating this program many years ago, and it's been very successful at that. So the end result of what we want to go through here in the next 2 or 3 days is that you can walk out of here and take the knowledge, apply the knowledge, and ideally within a 12 to 24 month time frame, generate $4,000 or more per month online, effectively. Who would be happy with that outcome if that become true for you? Now, I also respect there's some people in this room already that I've got to acknowledge and commend that have already started on their internet careers. Is that true? They're already down the road and already making good money on the internet. So here this weekend might be just a matter of picking brains to fine-tune what you're doing, because you're already taking some knowledge and you're down the path. But I'm going to assume here the majority of people are internet virgins. Is that true? Show of hands if you're an internet virgin. Okay, some of you don't want to admit you're an internet virgin. It's okay. And who has at least some experience on the internet? Okay, quite a few people. And who's not going to put up their hand no matter what I ask? Okay. So, in other words, so majority of us here are just beginners, and that's okay. So when we go through some of the strategies, some of the speakers that will come along, they will get a little bit advanced, because remember, they've been doing this stuff for years as far as making money on the internet, etc. So they think it's quite simple, but sometimes they forget, hang on, when they first starting, everything seemed complicated. So stay with it if it seems complicated, etc. What you have as a 21st century member, what we've made available for the very first time, which some of you know about, is that on Sunday, when we finish the program Sundays, every 21st century member, you'll be able to get a copy of the Internet and Business Home Study, which in the past you would have had to pay for. That's going to be a gift for each and every one of you, which will help accelerate your learning. So if you do miss any things, you have the chance to go over a lot of, not just, obviously this event, which you'll get, is being recorded, but that will be for a future one, but there's 2 or 3 past events that are recorded with a lot of different speakers. So, probably all up, maybe 18, 20 different speakers you can learn off. So more than what you'll learn just from this weekend. But it gives you the chance to go over and see it a couple of times. Who thinks that might be a valuable for you. So, and that's what we've done that because I found there's two effective ways to teach. And the most effective way to teach is not via seminars. You say, Jamie, why do you want to run seminars then if it's not the most effective way to teach? Well, seminars are effective, but not as effective. I found for myself, when I'm looking at something brand new, whether it's renting shares or whatever new concept, or whether it's the internet, for me, I always need to see the concept 3, 4, 5 times, and then I get to the point and go, aha, now I've got it. And when I reach that point, then I take action with it. But there's a gap I find for many people when we first see something new, we don't quite get it, and it causes a thing called what? Confusion, true. And often that can cause procrastination. Is that true? Now, I know no one in this room has ever procrastinated before, but who knows other people out there that procrastinated in the past, okay? You know some people like that. So often that can stop us from taking action. So at 21st Century, one of the reasons we've been successful, we're coming up for 10 years now as an educational organisation, we've been so successful at getting people to produce results, is we try to teach it in a way that's very simple, so you can actually get it, and then give you the resources such as DVDs, etc., where you can continue your learning, so you have your spaced repetition. Because we can teach you a lot in these 3 days, but if you're going to become an internet guru, or even you're just going to make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month eventually from your internet businesses, then it's going to require a continued education. Is that true? Your success is ongoing learning. And that's exciting anyhow, because we're always learning different things. So that's the essence of the outcome is. It's about a teacher program to share with you how you go about generating at least $4,000 a month or more from internet incomes in the next 12 to 24 months. Now, some of you in the room will be fast learners, will have a certain level of base knowledge, which will enable you to accelerate that. You know, I've heard of people walk out of these events within a matter of a couple of months, achieve that sort of success. I've had people now make, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month of income they've been able to build from online incomes as a result of sitting in a program such as you're sitting in several years ago. I've known 21st Century's members that have started internet business and sold them for hundreds of thousands of dollars, some for millions of dollars as a result of that. So I'm also going to teach you, it's not just about how to make the cash flow per month, but there's a bigger way to make a lot more money for those. Is anyone in the room here interested in getting seriously rich? Does anyone want to get seriously rich? Okay, I mean seriously rich. Okay, not just a couple of $1 million, but I mean 10 million, 100 million, potentially a billionaire one day. Is that of interest to anyone? Okay, so I think they did promise that I would share a strategy around that today, and after lunch later today, I'll share with you what I call the billionaire strategy. And it relates very directly applicable to what we're talking about as an entrepreneur and what we're doing here. Now, of course, I'm not going to suggest and promise you're going to walk out of here and in 5 or 10 years or 15 years become a billionaire, okay? Maybe some of you will. However, the whole goal is modeling. Does that make sense? If you can walk out of here and be 1%, model just 1% of that success, and build an internet business or whatever, a normal business, and be able to generate or sell that for $1 million or even a couple of $100,000. So for the average person, that's a significant benefit. Would you agree? Significant benefit. So I'm going to walk you through that process because we're going to look at the biggest mistake most entrepreneurs make. And in this country, we've got some good examples to share of entrepreneurs in this country in the last 6 to 12 months that have made some horrendous mistakes. And we'll use some of them as a test case of what not to do. Okay? So we're going to learn the BNS strategy today as well. I'm also going to teach you, as I said, it's not just about the internet, it's also about building businesses, but it's also about going about where you're at right now to make a transition. Who's full-time employed? Who works for someone else? Okay, probably 50% of the room. Who's self-employed? Okay, and who prefers not to do anything? Okay. Retired investor, whatever, go to Bondi, your choice, whatever you do. So half the room is employed. So what I'm going to do is there's a transition because there's all an element of fear. Is it true? We're in life, we've heard about good concepts or we've got excited about something or a business opportunity or something. We've been excited and it hasn't quite worked out. Most people have been through that journey. So what we want to do is be strategic about what we do. In other words, if you're an employee and a full-time employee, but maybe you want to move and try and move out of that where you have a lot more freedom, then there's strategies to go about having that transition. Okay, transition of how do you go from being full-time employed to maybe becoming, self-employed, where you're generating enough income where then eventually you can leave your job. And doing that strategically as opposed to the fear, what if this doesn't work and then how am I going to survive? Okay, the good thing about what we're talking about here this weekend is there's effectively no risk. I mean, as far as the internet, the only thing that stands between you and making, say, $4,000 a month or more online right now is effectively two things. One is the knowledge. Is that true? For most of you, is a lack of knowledge. I'm going to solve that this weekend. And two, the other thing is time. The time factor of applying that knowledge, taking action, and the time lag it takes to get those results. Making sense? So that's what we're looking at. It's not a lack of capital, because most of these ideas don't require a lot of capital. And we've seen in the past, if we look at the dot-com era, that companies that had heaps of money threw it at dot-com ideas or threw it at building websites, and they had all the millions in the world, and it meant nothing. Because even if you have the capital, it's not necessarily going to be the key ingredient on the internet. What the key ingredient is the knowledge, the strategy, the ability to take action with that. Okay? So, we've got a lot to learn. So part of what I'll teach you today is also some quick tips, as well as how do you go about getting a pay rise, how do you go about accelerating your existing income. So as we build up these additional incomes on the side, we're not neglecting our current income as well. So many of these strategies are going to help you increase your income, because that's only going to accelerate what you do. Okay? So we've got a lot to get through. So everyone stand up quickly. My challenge to each and every one of you, I'm going to share with you as much as I can in the time that I have with you today, strategies and information and knowledge that I would have paid literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for to access if I could access this knowledge 15 years ago when I was starting on my journey as an entrepreneur. It would have been that day, if I had to write $1 million check, I would have done that, because how valuable it is, those things that I've learned. I'm willing to share those things as much as I can with each and every one of you. However, my challenge for you is this. What you do with it is ultimately up to you. Is that true? Makes no difference to me. Makes no difference to my bank account whether you become hugely successful or do absolutely nothing with it. It's your future that we're talking about here. So my challenge for each and every one of you is, one, you want to get the most out of this weekend, if you want to get the most out of your life, the biggest challenge is to keep an open mind. Because we all have our preconceptions. Will it work? Won't it work? It's all right for other people. Maybe that worked 4 years ago. Or it's all right for that person, etc. If we don't have an open mind, then we can reduce our effectiveness at applying these strategies. And who is that ultimately going to cost? You or me? It's going to cost yourself. It's going to cost you in a lack of income in your bank account, what could have been done, where you see other people go out and do what you could have done, but you didn't, because you didn't keep an open mind. My definition of intelligence is this: the sign of intelligence is the ability to entertain a new idea. Does it make sense? The sign of intelligence is the ability to entertain a new idea. And Albert Einstein says that the sign of intelligence is the application of an idea. In other words, the ability to implement an idea. And they go hand in hand. One, we must first entertain ideas, and two, we must be able to apply those ideas. That, to me, is the definition of intelligence. So this weekend's all about that. How do we keep an open mind, let go of our preconceptions, even if you think, well, I know nothing about the internet, I don't even think it's possible, maybe for the lucky few, but if that's your belief system, open, entertain new ideas. If they can apply to you, take advantage of them. Make sense? Two, I challenge you to take lots of notes. I challenge you to review the DVDs afterwards so you get the full value out of this. Okay? And my last challenge is that you take these ideas and you profit as a result of these strategies, that you consider giving 10% of what you make to me. Raise your hand if that's okay with everyone. Team, quickly pass out the legal documents. I'm just kidding. You don't have to give it to me. I challenge you, though, to get the concept of giving to charity or a cause or community or something that you believe in that's greater than you. And I share that with you two reasons. One, I think it's a good principle to live your life by, but two, it's also a very strong strategy for increasing your wealth. Because if you have the ability and access the opportunities to increase your wealth, to have more money than what you actually need to live a comfortable life, should you not exploit that to make an excess abundance, so then you can go and use that money to serve other people that maybe not be as fortunate as you are? You live in one of the richest countries on the planet, one of probably the best countries in the world that you'd ever want to do business in. It's not perfect, but compared to everywhere else, I couldn't think of any other country that you'd rather do business in than Australia. Does it make sense? Now, I may be biased, I'm Australian, but I've conducted business in other countries, and there's some great countries out there with opportunity. However, I've basically figured this: if you can't make it in Australia, then guess what? Give up. Okay? If you can't make it here, you're not going to make it anywhere. We have an abundance of opportunity, abundance of wealth. Even though I know right now in the world there's a lot of the global credit crisis and the stock market crash, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. What we're going to look at today is strategies, and you have this knowledge where you can develop your own certainty. And actually you can profit from a global credit crash. You can profit from a stock market. You can profit from tough economic times by being a leader, by being innovative, and not being fearful. Being locked in fear like the masses doesn't serve anyone. Does it make sense? But by being certain within, by knowing the knowledge and being better educated, we can have a sense of certainty. You can be like a Warren Buffett, where Warren Buffett right now has a strong sense of certainty when the world is in chaos. Richard Branson is not necessarily panicking. He's adjusting, he's innovating. He's getting prepared to take advantage of difficult times. So that's part of being an entrepreneur. So before we get started, what gives me the right to speak on subjects such as internet and entrepreneurship? I'll be right up front with you. I don't classify myself as an internet guru. We've obviously brought in internet gurus for you this weekend. However, I've been fortunate enough to make millions and millions of dollars online since I've learnt these strategies. So I'm a student and a big advocate of what you can do on the internet. And I've been able to do that in many different companies and many different industries for that matter. As an entrepreneur, I was fortunate enough to build over 5 different companies, and more than 5 companies, but 5 companies that have been multi-million-dollar companies in different industries. So I've been able to take these strategies. Many people might build a multi-million-dollar business in one industry on one company, but be able to replicate that in numerous companies, in different industries takes a lot greater skill. So I don't share that to impress you, but impress upon you. Today is not like going to a university lecture where we're going to teach the theory of what could be done in entrepreneurship or on the internet. We're actually talking here real life things that have been done, are being done, will continue to be done, whether you do them or not. Does that make sense? And there's a big difference in that than just, theory is great, but I've always wanted to learn off people who have been out there in the world and actually had to do it themselves. And that's certainly helped me learn a lot. Now, also as an educator, one of my careers is an educator, and I've enjoyed that over the last 9 or so years, and that's also given me greater insight working with a lot of people and helping them, articulating strategies, be able to impart that to other people so they could replicate that. I've met many people that I've interviewed, very successful people from multi-millionaires to multi-billionaires, and some have been incredibly successful, but if we had to get them up on stage to share with you so you can replicate that, most of them, because it's unconscious, they wouldn't have the ability to articulate that or systemize that in a way that you could take advantage of it. Does it make sense? So in essence, it's not just having the knowledge, it's also being able to impart that knowledge, which is valuable. Then it can become what we call mainstream. In other words, other people can take advantage of that. And effectively, that's what we do. We take sophisticated strategy and make them available so everyday people can take advantage of that. But in saying that, most everyday people don't take advantage of it. And that's actually a good thing. I used to want to help everyone become wealthy, and then I changed my mind a few years ago. And I realized helping people that are not willing to help themselves is really a what? A waste of time. Who's ever found that to be true? Okay. And you can only help those that are committed. So what I want to suggest to you, why the opportunity exists and why it is possible if you're willing to expand your mind and consider that, is because most people won't be doing these things. Okay. Because only a certain percentage of society is willing to put the time, the effort into developing their education, whether it's financial education, whether it's their internet education, business education. Only a small percentage of people are willing to do that. And as a result, those who do have a competitive advantage to those that don't. Now, some people say, that isn't fair. Well, life isn't fair, is it true? I don't create the rules, it's just the way it is. But think about it. It's a bit like saying a neurosurgeon that's earning maybe $400,000 a year. Can a garbage collector earning $40,000 a year complain and say it's not fair, I'm only earning $40,000 a year, neurosurgeons earning $400,000 a year, life is unfair and it should be changed? Yes or no? No, the difference would be neurosurgeons spent, 6 years at university, then done prac, then been out there, had to build a career, developed skills that few people have. And as a result of that, he or she earns $400,000 a year, where a garbage collector has developed skills that pretty much anyone has. Who here is confident they know how to collect garbage if you had to survive? See, it's a skill set that the large majority of people have. And as a result, this is what determines your income, by the way. One of the things. is by how many people can do what you do. By how many people can do what you do. A garbage collector, anyone can do that, so the demand for that service, even though there's a demand there, divide that by the number of people can do it, creates a low value what you'd pay someone to do that. Making sense? Where a neurosurgeon, there's more need to collect garbage in the world than there is for a neurosurgeon. True? However, the demand that exists for neurosurgeons, divided by the number of neurosurgeons in the world, means the value per neurosurgeon is very high, and thus why they can command high fees. Making sense? So what has this got to do with me getting rich on the internet, Jamie? Well, it's got to do with anything about the income that you have in society. Is all determined, jot this down, it's all determined by the value, jot this down, the value you add. In other words, to become wealthy or to have any level of income in society, you must add value. You must add value. Now, if that's true, then how much you're worth or how much you're earning right now should be a direct reflection of how much value you're adding to society. Correct? Who thinks that they're not getting paid enough money? Okay. Some of you are not going to put your hand up because you go, So now there is exceptions to this rule. The exceptions are this. If we look at, by the way, I'm a capitalist, in case you're wondering. If we looked at the, I hope no one has any issues with that, this is a capitalist seminar. I believe the best system is not perfect, and people are talking about capitalism is coming to an end. Jot this down. Bullshit. I'm a compassionate capitalist. I think that's the best system. It's not perfect, but compassionate capitalism. In other words, helping people, capitalist basis, helping people have their own opportunity to expand, increase their income and knowledge and add value to society. But the wealthy, the ones that are better off, being compassionate to take care of the ones that can't help themselves. Who agrees that's a fair thing to do? Notice that's not to take care of the bludgers who aren't willing to do anything for themselves. There's a difference in that, okay? And that's where I agree what Rupert Murdoch said a few weeks ago about Australia, great country. However, our national icon shouldn't be the bludger, okay? And there is that element in our culture. We want a very rich culture, very rich opportunity, but there's an element of entitlement. Is it true? I don't know where that comes from. But there's an element of entitlement, and that is a poison for anyone that wants to become wealthy or wants to become independent, because welfare is, it's not going to help anyone. We've seen that. If you give a hand out, it doesn't really help. If you give a hand up, it's far more effective. So what am I talking about that for? Well, the idea of communism was the idea that everyone should get equal. Okay, if you go to Cuba or go to Russia, what used to be in Russia, but it's changed now, but let's say Cuba, one of the few communist places left on the planet, the doctors get paid the same amount of money as the garbage collectors. Does it make sense? The idea of communism, everyone gets paid by the government the same amount of money. Now, does that encourage innovation, improvement, and a society to continue to evolve? Yes or no? In theory, it sounded great. Life should be fair, everyone should be treated equally. But it's a misguided thinking, because people, if you want to go out as an individual and perform and produce more results in society and deliver more value to society, do you deserve to be rewarded more than someone that couldn't be bothered doing anything? Yes or no? Absolutely. So the unfair advantage you have by developing these skills as an entrepreneur, as whether you're an investor, whatever skills you improve, you have a competitive advantage to the rest of the population. Why? Think about it. It's the same analogy as a neurosurgeon. Is there a demand to market goods and services in the world via the internet? Yes or no? There's a demand to be able to deliver goods and services in a less expensive way to a larger amount of people. How many people are good at that? Or how many people have the skill set to do that? Well, divide that by the opportunity, and that's why you can earn a very large income. Make sense? Because these skill sets, not everyone has. Not everyone's willing to put the effort in to develop them. And as a result, it's just like if you spend 6 years at university and get a degree, you get a higher paying job than someone generally that doesn't. Making sense? Because so it gives you a competitive advantage. That's what you want to use and take advantage of, and that's why it is possible for a percentage of the population to earn an extraordinary amount of income. Now, whether it's fair or not, it's irrelevant. It's just the way it is. And that's the way the world we operate in. So are we going to take advantage of that, or are we going to miss out on that? Who's following what I'm saying here? Okay, so here's what we're going to do as an overall strategy. Jot this down. First of all, I want you to, now some of you are saying, yeah, I'll have an open mind, I'll consider this, but I really don't see how the internet can really, it's not really me, or I can't see how I can make enough money from it. It's all right for other people. I'll put my toe in the water and I see how it goes. Okay, I'll see how it goes. Now, that's a very different attitude to if you're like, you're absolutely committed, I'm going to do whatever it takes to master this because I'm committed to following through and producing a result. Very different mindset. And even though I don't believe it's possible right now, I'm going to keep an open mind and pursue and focus on what I want and model the most successful strategies and never give in and continue to refine what I do until ultimately I produce a result that I'm happy with. It's a very different attitude. Okay? Now, some people don't see the benefit big enough, therefore they don't put enough effort in. If they realize the benefit was great enough, they'd be like, I'm going to put the effort in. And often that makes the difference. The people that raise the standards, put the effort in, follow through, produce a greater result than those that don't. The ones that don't is because they're not seeing the value in doing it. So let me enlighten you and highlight to you, for those who don't yet see the value of this, if we're talking about here dedicating ourselves part-time the next 12 to 24 months to be able to set up incomes on the internet, whatever forms of incomes you generate, to, let's say, produce a $4,000 per month profit to you, okay, from your internet businesses, then that's effectively $50,000 a year, thereabouts. That is equivalent to $1 million in real estate, fully paid off, earning 5% net rental return. True? And even though rents are going up right now in Australia, to get 5% net is still very difficult. Okay? 5% net. Does that make sense? So hang on a minute, you're going, actually, if we put this in perspective, if we can put the effort in and treat the internet with the level of respect it deserves, and not some little side hobby that we might do, but something we're going to say, we're going to take this seriously, we're going to put the effort in. And if we can develop incomes of that, all of the accomplishes is $4,000 a month, and it takes us 2 years part-time dedication to get to that level of success, worth almost $50,000 a year, that's equivalent to having $1 million in real estate fully paid off. Now think about it for the average person. What's more likely? Buying $1 million worth of real estate in the next 12 to 24 months and fully paying it off from their savings, or going to work part-time, developing their skill set and developing an internet career to generate $4,000 a month or online? Who's starting to see the difference now? Okay? So we see, well, let's treat this seriously because the internet actually has tremendous capabilities. And then what we're going to look at later is we're going to say, well, if we've got businesses generating passive or semi-passive income, it's not just the income that we're after. That's exciting, is that true? That's what we're after initially. But what we're going to look at later today is say, how do we take that income and then turn it into real money, into a capital creation of something that's saleable, something that you can sell for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, some cases millions of dollars. If you get really big, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's the same principle. Who could be excited about that? That's going the one step beyond what most people see. Most entrepreneurs are just focused on the cash flow, which is great, but the big picture, what we're looking at is creating cash flow, because that cash flow has a multiple value. And we'll look at that with the B&S strategy, how you can tap into that. Jot this down. The overall concept of 21st century is to teach this ideology. Jot this word down, it's synergy. One way to accelerate your results is through synergy. And what the synergy is using a combination of different ways to create wealth, not just one. So for instance, let's say we all start with a job generally. We leave school, university, get a job, start earning an income. So this first criteria is our job, or then we might set up ourselves up as a business or businesses and expand our income from there. And the whole idea of most wealth creation is that we save some of our income and we put our surplus cash. Generally, the most common way is put it into what do you think? Into property. The most common way people become wealthy in Australia has been start with a job or business or move into a business, develop surplus cash flow, put it down as a deposit on a home or investment property, and over time, real estate tends to go which direction? Well, it depends where you live, okay? But certainly in Australia, our experience has been, since the inception of real estate in this country, that it has gone up over time. Make sense? Okay? And as a result of that, we've generated capital value. Then another way to accelerate, which I added to what I was doing many years ago and I learned off one of my other mentors, was the concept of the share market. I used to be just like I used to be preconceived about the internet and didn't treat it seriously. I used to have the same attitude towards shares. I was like, why would I want to touch shares? I can make a fortune through real estate. It's easy. I buy it, walk away, takes care of itself. It's managed. Shares, well, it's much more difficult. How do I know the company's going to be around in 10 years? Okay. How do I pick it? I don't know how to make money. To me, it's too risky. I don't see the return. I don't see the reward in it. Therefore, I had linked pain to it and I didn't follow through. And two, one of my mentors said, Jamie, you realize you're looking at the share market all the wrong way. There's another way to look at it. And you can look at it in a way that you can generate instant cash flow. Are you interested in instant cash flow? The answer, obviously, for me was yes. He said you could still build property, but combine shares with it and have the best of property, but then the best of the share market. Combining, working together, and as a result, you'll get where you want to go in a fraction of the time. Would that be worth keeping an open mind for? My answer was, obviously, yes, it would. And who would relate to that for yourself as well? So as a result, I kept an open mind and I learned things about renting shares and selling insurance and other strategies in the share market that could generate me predominantly cash flow. And I was able to use equity out of properties, pull it out into here and generate cash flow, and as a result of that, accelerate what I do. So in a nutshell, that's the overall picture of what we want to do achieve financial success. But here's some mistakes that I see some people make. And would you like me to share them with you so you don't make the same mistakes? You'd like me to share that with you so you don't? Because I suspect many people will make these mistakes, and here's a very simple mistake most people make. They get fed up with their job, so they dream the only reason they're motivated to go into property or the share market because they want to kill this thing. They don't want to have to work for their boss anymore, which is understandable. So they get enough income over here and they quickly kill off this and they no longer pay. They put like this line down here and focus only over there. Why is that a mistake? Well, it's better than doing nothing and not being an investor, and like many people just focus on their job and not have anything over here and going to rely on just their super for retirement. So it's certainly better than doing that. But here's the mistake, this is the fuel in the rocket that will drive these faster. So we don't want to neglect it. Sure, we want to invest over here and here and accelerate what we do, but we also want to build up here, whether it's our job or we move into businesses. So what I did, and I created the Millionaire's Lifestyle well before I became a millionaire, and I'll share with you how I went about doing that today, was that I developed why I still had a job. I changed the structure of my job, first of all, to be more of an entrepreneur working within an organization, which is a smart thing to do. And then I started to develop multiple forms of income, semi-passive forms of income. Why I still had a main income, which enabled me to have more cash flow to fuel into here, which accelerated these. But once I had excess over here, I didn't stop over here. I continued to build up multiple forms of income. My first mentor, who was a gentleman in Sydney, he had over 15 different forms of income. I like that concept. So I took that and that idea, and today I don't know how many forms of income I've got, but it's in excess of 15. Passive, semi-passive incomes that come into me that I don't have to work for. Okay? Who would like that? Okay? Not saying that to impress you, but impress upon you that if you continue to focus here, it'll actually get you overall where you want to go that much quicker. And it creates a compounding. It also means that you are recession-proof. Does it make sense? You are recession-proof because the share market might crash, but you might be in property and doing well from property. Or you're a sophisticated investor and making money from a share market crash, so it doesn't matter what the share market's doing anyhow. That's another step further. But also, you got an income from here, you got incomes from here, and you got incomes from here. And then you're developing multiple forms of income and diverse industries and diverse product lines, etc. Therefore, you're recession-proof because one of your incomes may go bad due to the global credit crisis or recession. But you have another form of income that's not affected, or multiple forms of income. So you got more chance, very less chance of them all going down the gurgler. Does that make sense? Well, people say, what if the whole financial monetary system on the planet collapses? Well, this stock market they were talking about yesterday, the share market's dropped 51% from November last year. What if it drops, keeps on dropping at the rate it's been dropping in the last 2 weeks? It'll be down to 0 by Christmas. Okay? What if that happens? And it's sort of like, well, if the world collapses, don't worry about it. Because everyone else is going to be up shit creek anyhow. I mean, what are you worried about? Don't worry about things you don't control. The successful people focus on what they do control. I'm not going to go, well, the whole market collapsed completely. Well, I don't control that. But what I do control is going to be, hang on a minute, how do I adjust my strategy? Because even in a depression, Sir John Temple, one of the most successful investors before, who was the Warren Buffett of the last century, you know when he made most of his money? Out of the Great Depression. He started buying stocks up, etc., during the Great Depression, and that built him massive wealth. He was the Warren Buffett of the last century. Does that make sense? So the most successful people are able to say, let go of the things you don't control. Okay, if you want a free tip this weekend, here's a free bonus, how to get stressed. Okay, I know you all want to know how to get stressed because some of you haven't figured out how to do it yet, is that right? In case you don't know how to get stressed yet, the easiest way to get stressed is this. Just try and control events or people that you don't control and try and control them. One will stress the hell out of you and will stress the hell out of the other person as well. Who's tried to control other people before? Come on, ladies, put your hand up. Come on. Try to control your partner. Try and control events that you don't control. Things you do not control, let go of. Do not waste your energy. Here's a good test for you. Try this. Don't try this at home. You're going to try this on an aeroplane. Okay? The next time you're on an aeroplane, I want you to do this. Okay? Keep an open mind. Here's what you're going to do. It's a good test. Okay? You got an open mind? Some of your mind's too open. Okay? Stay focused. Okay? Here's what you're going to do. Here's what I do when I'm on an aeroplane. I like to study human psychology. It's something for the last 15 years. It's been fascinating for me. And I study what my question all predominated from why some people have the same upbringing, same environment, same opportunities, and why do some people become extraordinarily successful and others don't? What's the difference? That question has intrigued me and driven me for years. So I love people and I love studying people. So I believe I have a way to determine how successful people are in life by the way they get off an aeroplane. So what correlation is there? Well, think about this. The average person on an aeroplane and the average person in their life, when the plane has landed or still, taxiing to the runway, they'll undo their seatbelt when they're not meant to. They'll be trying to jump out and grab stuff out of the overhead lockers, etc. And they'll be trying to push up the aisle before they're even meant to. In other words, they're trying to get off the plane quicker. And they've got all this stressful energy trying to get off quicker, like they have control over when the plane stops and when they're going to get off. In other words, they spend a lot of time and energy trying to control something they have no control over. Does it make sense? Where if I'm on a plane, I will sit cool, calmly and collected. I'll usually notice the person next to me gets annoyed because I'm not getting up and getting my bag down yet. And they're like, we're going to not get off the plane on time. It's like, relax. Okay. There's no point. Why am I rushing? I'll continue to read the paper. I'll get it done in an orderly fashion. Why? Because you're not going to get off the plane any quicker, whether you rush or not. Who's following what I'm saying here? So the challenge for most people is they will focus their energies on the things they don't control and stress themselves out as a result, and they'll put very little energy into things they do control. And as a result, they fail in life. And we see this everywhere. I.e., these same people want to get rich quick, go into the share market, they buy a share, and they're praying the share price goes up. Do they can control whether the share price goes up, yes or no? No, and if they did, they'd go straight to jail, okay? Because you're not allowed to control the share price. So as a result, they're attached trying to control something. Do they control the economy, yes or no? No. As a result, they don't have that control. Do they control their spouse, yes or no? Yes. Yeah. Well, that's debatable. Some of the women are going, okay. So, but do we ultimately, there's a cost to that. So something's outside our control. So let that go. However, if we take charge of what we do control, our decisions, our behavior, our action, our thoughts, our focus, and what we do, then what we do is we're able to increase our ability to influence those things we do not control. Repeat it after me. Something to think about. If we take charge of what we do control, we increase our ability to not control but influence those events or other people that we'd like to control or influence. Does it make sense? We don't control, but we increase our ability. As an entrepreneur, one of the reasons most entrepreneurs are control freaks because they like to have control over their lives. Okay? And being an entrepreneur, you get a lot more control over your life because you develop the ability to create influence. For instance, Richard Branson, because he was someone many years ago who took control of what he controlled, his ideas, his thoughts, his actions to produce results, he now is in a position where he has significant influence over things that most people don't. I.e., if he wants to send people into space, he has the ability to do that because he has the resources, the idea, the ability to do that. If he wants to make a significant difference where he donated all the profits of his transportation businesses to try and solve or help with global warming, alternative energies and things like that. He doesn't control that, but he has the capacity to influence on a larger scale because of what he did take control of. Who's following what I'm saying here? Okay? So to save yourself the stress, what we're going to look at any of these things is, what do we control? Continually focus on that. I don't control that there's a global credit crisis and the market's been crap in recent months. But I do control going, hang on a minute, it is what it is. How can I change my strategy? How can I change my approach? How can I protect myself from a crash? Or how do I actually go one step further, not only survive, but how do I thrive in a global credit crisis? Why? How am I going to do that? Focusing on what I can control. Therefore, I can have a sense of certainty in a very uncertain time, where most people in the masses have a lot of uncertainty. And as a result of a lot of the uncertainty, will we go into a recession in Australia is a big debate right now. Okay? But a recession can be self-fulfilling if enough people go into fear, become uncertain and stop spending. And then it can create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Just like in our own life, we have the ability to influence others. Fear can control us and create influence, but so can faith and a sense of certainty. And the certainty always comes from within. Now, what has that got to do with you making money on the internet? It's got everything to do with it. Because are you going to dedicate your time to what you can control? Changing your pricing, changing your website, changing your marketing, changing your approach? Or are you going to focus on the things you don't control? Oh, it's the economy. Oh, there's too many people doing this. Oh, there's this. Or all of that. The things you don't control. I don't have enough time. Oh, if only. Making sense? The smart people are focused on getting the result because they continually change and they innovate. So my point here with this strategy is, we don't want to neglect and say, let's just quit all this and just focus over here. This is great, you can do very well over here. But if you want to get seriously rich, do not neglect your job or business. The ideal strategy would be this, is that you continue to invest over here and here, wherever you want to invest, but you continue, one, to get a pay rise and increase your current income by adding more value to your employer. Then you might want to say, I want to get rid of my employer, okay? I want to sack my boss. You might strategically start developing other incomes up on the side. Then I'm going to teach you a strategy how you can go into contract as opposed to salary, so you can make a strategic move out of here. Then you can start earning a lot more income here, and this will just fuel these. Overall, you'll get there where you want to go quicker, but you'll be more diversified, you'll be recession-proof, and you'll have a lot more fun in the process. Who likes the idea of that? Okay. To me, that's a much more smarter, strategic way to go about doing things. And that's what I do. I dedicate a lot of my time. I'm still involved in real estate. I still buy property. The share market, I've been waiting for a great opportunity to get back into the share market, and in the last few months I've seen some of the best opportunities I've seen since 2001 to be in the market. So while most people are cashing out, I'm cashing up to go into the market in a much bigger way. Why? I have a sense of certainty where others don't. Okay, I have a sense of opportunity. Like this month alone will be one of the most profitable times I've had in the share market ever. And I'm dabbling in it part-time on a small scale while I do 10 other things. Does that make sense? Where for the average person, is it the most profitable month, November, in the share market? Yes or no? No, they're thinking about jumping off buildings, okay, because the share market's gone down. One, do either of us control the share market? Am I making a lot of profit from the share market because I'm controlling it somehow? Don't think so. But I'm controlling what I do. I'm not panicking. I'm being strategic. I'm not being fearful. I'm using a different strategy. I'm focusing on what I can control. Where the average person's like, there's nothing I can do. The share market's crashed, and they feel powerless or helpless. Making sense? So what we don't want to do is make the mistake of neglecting this area of your employer to start with, adding value there, increasing your income. We're going to look at how to do that. Then strategically working your way out of that, developing multiple forms of income. And our most successful 21st century members, what they're able to do, they have property working for them well, they're doing well in the share market, and they're built up, they're able to work themselves out of their job, or they still do their job because they love it, but on a better an arrangement with their employer, so they have a lot more time to do what they want, and earn a higher income, and then they have multiple forms of internet incomes here. And as a result of that, they're replicating effectively what I've done over the years and what I continue to do. Okay? And then we add that after lunch, and add to that one, how to get seriously rich, is we're then going to add the BNS strategy, which fits in here as well. Okay? And for some of you, that'll just be useful to know, because what we're going to look at, if you're a share investor, you need to know the BNS strategy, because that's how billionaires are making money while you're trading their shares. Okay? So it's useful as a share investor to know that, but I'll teach you from an entrepreneur point of view how you can replicate that strategy. Maybe not to be a billionaire, but as I said, maybe to make tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, some of you millions of dollars. Making sense? But that's the big picture. So what we're going to do in this program, we're going to drill down into here, and this is for obviously what you learn on the other programs. So there's two ways to become wealthy. I'm going to jot these down. One way is to have money at work as an investor. That's the most common way. People say, how do I become wealthy? I have to invest and have money at work for you. Very clever. However, there's another way to become wealthy that most people neglect. What else should you have at work for you? Apart from money. People. Jot that down. The other way to become wealthy is to have people at work for you. So the value of being an entrepreneur is that you can have people at work. So in my life, I have money at work because I'm an investor, but I'm also an entrepreneur, so in my different companies, I have people at work. As a result of that, those people are working effectively, they're making you money. Okay? People at work don't always make you money, okay? But if they're working effectively, they'll make you money. So in other words, you tap in now, you have two ways to make money as opposed to just being an investor, or opposed to just working and selling your time to your boss, which is a very limited way of earning income. Making sense? So jot this down. You've heard me talk about the 80-20 rule, the 80-20. In other words, 80% of what it takes to be successful is your psychology or mindset. And that will be just as true when we talk about internet marketing. There'll be some of you that will walk out of here and become incredibly successful. And 80% of that will relate to the fact is you have a better psychology around making money, in particular around internet and business. That psychology is simple things that we've been talking about, focusing what you control, being open-minded, not having limiting belief systems, and 20% of it is the mechanics. In other words, actually, ironically, 80% of this program will be dedicated to the 20%, the mechanics. In other words, how do we go, okay, it's great in theory, how do we go and break it down? How do we, on a practical step, to have money coming in while we sleep from the internet? How do we actually do that? And we're going to go into the mechanics of different ways of doing that. And every speaker is going to have their particular way they've done it. The great thing about the internet is that there's not just one way. There is literally dozens, if not hundreds of different ways and methodologies and strategies and businesses to make money online. Okay? Now, some of you will be thinking here today, it's like, I don't even know anything about the internet. How am I going to make money on the internet? I don't even have a product. I don't even have a service. I don't even know what I'm going to be selling. Who's like that? Okay? Doesn't matter. We'll take care of all that. Okay? So literally, if you're committed, you'd be able to start your internet career today. Who would like to launch their internet career today? Okay? You're literally able to do that. We can go through some basics of what you can do. You could go out, you just need access to a computer, do a few things, set a few things up, and you'd effectively be able to start an internet career today. Okay? And you also want to be able to serve your apprenticeship. So when we talk about that, how you go about serving your apprenticeship as an internet entrepreneur, and that will help you develop the confidence, and it doesn't cost you any money or very little money to go about doing that. So the 20% is the mechanics. Now there's another 80-20 principle, and it's different to the mindset psychology. The other 80-20 principle was noted by a famous Italian economist. Can anyone tell me the principle I'm talking about? Pareto principle. Jot that down. So the Pareto principle, what's that got to do with you increasing your income and making money online or making more money from what you do already? The basic observation of Pareto principle is this, that 80% of our time that we spend in our career or whatever produces only 20% of the results. In other words, at your work right now, 80% of your time is spent and only gets 20% of the result. The inverse of that is this: 20% of your time is producing 80% of your results. Make sense? Or in any company, 20% of the staff are producing 80% of the results. And 80% of the staff are only producing the 20%. Just like in clients in your business, 80% of your clients are only producing 20% of your profit, yet 20% of your clients are producing 80% of your profit. So just by becoming aware of that principle, now it's an observation, it's not necessarily a law, that will vary. However, it's a very handy observation, because if that was true, and if you considered that, common sense would dictate, hang on, in my own life, if I'm spending 80% of the time and only getting 20% of the result, shouldn't I focus on the 20% more that's getting me 80% of the result and eliminate the 80% that's not effective? Yes or no? We would do that. It's just a matter, well, how do you identify which is the 20% that's getting 80% of the result? That's what we have to look at. Or if you had a business right now, whether it's an internet business or any business, you say, well, hang on, if 80% of my clients are only producing me 20% of the profit, and 20% are producing 80% of the profit, shouldn't I just focus on the 20% and look after them? Because that's where most of my profit's coming from. Yes or no? Absolutely. Jot this law down. This law is so critical, because we can talk about all the different ways to make money and things like that, but it comes down to our ability to be organized and manage our time and produce a result. And this stops a lot of people. The law of diminishing returns. Jot that down. I'm sure you've heard of it before. The law of diminishing returns. Jamie, what's this got to do with me making $4,000 a month tomorrow so I can quit my job? It's got everything to do with it. The law of diminishing returns. Jot down another word. Perfectionism or perfectionist. Jamie, what's a perfectionist or perfectionism got to do with an internet and business seminar? Everything. We want to look at the reasons why most people are not successful as they could be. And I think I'll just give you a couple of clues. The law of diminishing return and perfectionism. What has it got to do with each other? Well, the reason I've been a lot more successful than the average person in my entrepreneurial pursuits, the reason Richard Branson has been far more successful than the average person, and the reason anyone that's produced above average results is this. One, I'm not a perfectionist. Cross out perfectionism and jot this down. Perfectionism is the lowest standard there is. Jamie, how can you say that? I was interested in what you're saying up to now. How can you dare say that? Now, I suspect there's some perfectionists in this room that probably do not like what I'm saying. Is it true? But I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to tell you the truth. Does it make sense? What you do with it is up to you. As an educator, my role is to challenge you to think, not to do the thinking for you, not to impose thinking upon you. Fair enough? So I challenge you to think. So I'm suggesting perfectionism is the lowest standard. Now, perfectionists would think perfectionism is what standard? The highest standard. And that's where the delusion comes in. Now, we're looking at, jot this down, the truth is in the what? The truth is in the results. That's the only measure. Who's right, who's wrong, who cares? The results is all we're after. All I'm interested in is a result. So a result for you will be getting the best result you can with the time that you have and creating the best lifestyle you can possibly have. So the truth is in the result. So what is something that's preventing you possibly or preventing perfectionists? Because we all have an element of perfectionism in us, is it true? And what I mean by that is that it's the lowest standard where we think it's the highest standard. Waiting till everything is perfect, for instance, before we start. We think that's a high standard. It's more a case of a cop-out or an excuse to ourselves to procrastinate and stop us actually doing anything. Does it make sense? We've got to be aware of that. Now, of course, I'm not saying have low standards. I'm saying in a dream world, we would like things to be perfect, but hello, reality. Are we living in a perfect world? Is it ever going to be perfect? I wouldn't hold my breath. Now, let's look at someone like Richard Branson. Now, Richard Branson's been a role model and a mentor in business for me for many years. Now, originally, before I ever got the chance to meet him and be able to learn from him one-on-one, I originally just learned from him through his books. You know, everyone's familiar with Richard Branson's Virgin Group, etc. Now, Richard Branson is one of the most successful, if not the most successful entrepreneur living today. Many people have built, well, not many people, but a few people on the planet have built billion-dollar businesses. Richard Branson is the only entrepreneur on the planet that has built 8 separate multi-billion-dollar businesses in different industries. Think about that. Who'd be happy with just $1 billion business? Okay, 8 separate billion-dollar businesses, and has he decided to retire yet? Yes or no? No, the guy's like done that, and it looks like he's having fun. Would you agree? Do you ever see him working really hard? No, he's having fun. His hard work is having fun. And he's got time to build all these companies and have a blast. Now, sure, he gets stressed a little bit, okay? But the point is, that's extraordinary replication of a strategy to build 8 separate billion-dollar companies. It's phenomenal. So I was sharing that for a reason. If you think about that, is Virgin, even though it's one of the top recognized brands in the world today, is it perfect? No. Some of you go, absolutely not. I've flown Virgin Blue before, okay? Is it going to be perfect? Does it need to be perfect? Would you say in a business sense he's been very successful? Whether you like him or love him, you know, been very successful to produce a result like that. If he waited for it to be perfect, would Virgin Blue ever been launched? Was there any perfect time? Was it any perfect? Will it ever be perfect? My point is perfectionism stops people achieving what they want. We want high standards, I agree. Law of diminishing return. Go for the 80% to get 80% of the results. So 20% of our efforts, we want to focus on what's most productive to get that 80%. To get that from 80% to 100%, that additional 20% is going to take up 80% of our time. Is it worth it? Law of diminishing returns says no, because you have to spend 80% to get that extra 20. Just go for the 80 and move on. Making sense? Go for the 80 and move on. Don't wait till it's perfect to get started. You got it nearly there, go, launch. Most people come up to me with great business ideas. Jamie, got this great business idea. Do you think it'll work, this or that? And they're doing all these detailed business plans, and they're checking all the opinions of everyone else. They're going to so much effort. And will it work? And I go, you're not going to know until you do what? Start. What is the obvious thing you have to do is you have to just start, test. Now, you don't start and put your whole house on it. I'm not suggesting do that. You jot this word down. It's a very powerful word if you're going to be an entrepreneur, which you're going to be an entrepreneur, you now are, okay, whether you like it or not. Who's an entrepreneur in the room? Raise your hand, okay? Who's not sure whether you're an entrepreneur yet? Let me just tell you this. In the 21st century, everyone is in business for themselves. You are an entrepreneur whether you like it or not. Here's my other question for you. On a 0 to 10, rate yourself. Are you an outstanding entrepreneur like a 9 or 10 like a Richard Branson, or you are 0 as bloody hopeless at being an entrepreneur? Be honest with yourself. Jot it down now. Because whether you like it or not, you are an entrepreneur. The question is, are you a good entrepreneur or not? And we need to be honest with ourselves. Because in today's world, everyone is in business for themselves. If you go back 100 odd years ago, like the beginning of the last century, the majority of the population were entrepreneurs. They were self-employed. And then the industrial age come in, factories, mass production, and we needed employees. So there was a school system created to design people to conform, and it would come out and mass produce employees that would follow instructions to go into the factories and mass production. And that industrial age where you were taught, go to school, get a good education, and you'd get a job, and you'd have that job for the rest of your life, total job security. Make sense? That's the way it used to be. Our grandparents' era and even baby boomers, they were taught that. But then the world has changed. We're no longer in the industrial age. Is that true? We're now in the information age. The world has changed dramatically, and it's changing back to outsizing, outsourcing, downsizing, basically sacking people, getting rid of outsourcing, etc. More and more people are going to become employees again. Employed, self-employed individuals. So it'll go back to everyone eventually will be an entrepreneur. The age of large organizations is already changing. You've seen that now in this last credit crisis, that large organizations are shedding a lot of people. It's very difficult. You need to outsource, consult, etc. So, and the internet is what's driving that as well. Because eventually, majority of people will be able to generate their income from working from home as self-employed individuals. And you may be self-employed, but working in a larger organization. One of the things that used to annoy Kerry Packer when he was alive, because a lot of people say, well, you've heard this before, you can't get rich working for someone else. Jot this down. BS. It's not true. You can get very rich working for someone else. So don't fall for that. So some people say, I've got to quit my job and start my own business. It's the only way to become successful. Well, most people, 80% of people start their own business, fail in the first 5 years. And those that make it past the first 5 years fail the next. 80% of them fail in the next 5 years. So just going into business doesn't guarantee your success. You can be an entrepreneur within the company you work for. I was speaking to a friend last night, and he was saying he started a new job only 6 months ago. He's in IT in Sydney, and he's just got himself promoted. But the way he got it promoted, and he'll earn about $1.5 million this year, in a global credit crisis, as an employee. But he's an entrepreneurial employee. He sees himself as a business within their business. Now, how did he get promoted to earn that sort of income? Because obviously he's come up with a lot of ideas. Many ideas I'll be sharing with you today, the same sort of concept that I teach, to increase the company's profits that he works for. That's how you make more money. That's how you get a pay rise. I mean, look at that. Does that make sense? So my point in saying that, Kerry Packer used to get annoyed. One thing that annoyed him was that in his street where he used to live in Sydney, that in his same street was a lot of his executives that worked for him could have homes and afford homes in the same street. In other words, executives these days, you can work for a company and make as much money as the owner, and sometimes more. Make sense? So the world has changed, so you don't have to step out and start your own business. You can be an entrepreneur, but working for someone else. The shift is in our thinking and our strategy. Who's following what I'm saying here? Because some of you can earn a large income, but if we change the way that we go about it, we can get the quality of life that we want. So the Pareto principle, the law of diminishing returns, and perfectionism, we've got to say it'd be great to have a perfect world, great to have a perfect business. It's not going to happen. Let's get started. Let's make things happen, and we learn as we go. If I waited, my greatest lessons have come by my first business, which was in telecommunications, which was a complete failure. But if I didn't go through that process of making it and losing it and learning from that, then I could never become an entrepreneur later. I learned from that. You put your hand on the stove and it's hot, you learn once not to do it again if you're a fast learner. Okay, some of my brothers were slow learners. They kept putting their hand on the stove. But the point being, if we never learn, sometimes we have to learn by some mistakes. Now, the idea is to model, to minimize those mistakes, but we have to have that element of failure. Now, with the internet, you can fail miserably and not lose hardly any money. In some cases, no money at all. So it's set up where you can fail. You just keep doing it and changing it, fine-tuning it, change your approach. This is where the words I jotted down for you, test and measure. You would test and measure everything. You would test and measure everything you do on a small scale, i.e. like if you're a share trader, you'll paper trade. You'll test the strategy, you'll measure, and then you'll get the confidence. Then you'll go in with a little bit of money. You'll build up your confidence. You don't mortgage the house and put everything in it while you're doing those learning lessons, okay? You practice, build up your confidence. So in internet and in business, you'll test and measure. Paper trading is testing a campaign small, on a small scale. If it works, once you know it works on a small scale, then you roll it out. And that's what the most successful entrepreneurs do. Richard Branson has tested and measured. He's developed a strategy that has worked. Once it's worked once, he's confident it can work again and again and again. Once you get the recipe, then you roll it out, okay? Most people, once they get something that works, they get bored and go and do something else. It's not what you want to do. Once you've got something that's working, you stay focused and you roll it out. You roll it out in a large scale. Where most other people think, oh, the key to success is be persistent. I've just got to be persistent. That's all I've got to do. I'll be successful. So their idea is they keep trying to do something over and over again, and it's not working, but I've been told I've got to be persistent. I've got to keep on trying, over and over again. The definition of that is what? Insanity. They think, no, I've been told to be persistent. No, wrong. You've learnt wrong. You've got to be, true persistent, but persistently change your approach. If something's not working, it's not working. Look at that, be honest with it, and say, okay, well, let's change. Let's test something else. Change it, fine-tune it. Eventually, you've got it working. Now, the shortcut to that is this. Most people want to invent something. There's a saying that everyone in their lifetime will come up with at least one idea that can make them a millionaire. they generally ever apply. Who's ever saw an idea that's made millions for other people that you first thought of? Who's ever had that before? So that was my idea. Well, it's not who owns the idea that's valuable, it's who applies the idea. So here's a shortcut, the 80-20 for you. One methodology is this: don't reinvent the wheel. There's enough industries, enough successes. Anything you want to do, guess what? It's probably already been done. Jot that down. Anything you want to do has probably already been done. Any challenge or obstacle you face that prevents you from having what you want right now, someone else has probably already overcome it, already figured it out for you. Therefore, go and do what? Copy. But Jamie, we were taught at school not to copy. Well, this is a different school, copy. Okay? We call it modeling. In other words, it's easy to find a model. Someone comes to me and says, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. What do you think of my idea? First thing I'll go, well, hang on. Who else in your industry? Go find someone that's already done it and learn off them. How do you learn off them? Just find out what they did. You don't even have to speak to them. Just see their business model. Someone's already done it. Don't reinvent the wheel. What you're better off doing is this. Find something that's already working and then say, how can I make it better? The 80% is already done. Think about this. If you start a business from scratch and it's a brand new concept never been proven before, you're starting at zero. Find an industry model or something that someone has already done it. They're already at 80%. They've done 80% of the work for you. Go find the model. Model it and take it from here upwards. Improve it. It's easy to improve something from here upwards than starting from here upwards. Who's following what I'm saying here? In other words, anything you want to do, someone has probably already done it. Model them. Find out what they've done and then say, how do I do it better? Richard Branson's success has always been based on, hang on, someone's already doing it. Qantas is already doing it. So why should I reinvent the wheel? But I'll look at what they're doing and I'm going to do it better. I'm going to find a market that's being overcharged, that's being poorly serviced, and that I think I can go into and undercut, deliver a better service and still make a profit. That's effectively Richard Branson's strategy. And has he been successful at that in most occasions, yes or no? Now he's at 300 or 400 companies, not all of them succeed. But he's been able to protect the brand and do that. Now that's not genius. But he's also been able to keep things very simple. And here's the other mistake most entrepreneurs make, or most people make. They complicate things. We're all good at complicating things. The most successful people do it the reverse. They oversimplify. They simplify things down. They make difficult things look easy. Now, if you want to be building a business and being an entrepreneur, if your offers are complicated, if what you're talking about, like Warren Buffett has a great thing, he'll never invest in a business he doesn't understand. Why? Because if he can't understand how the business works and makes its money, then how can he judge whether it's going to be a successful business or a successful investment? Because he's effectively buying the business. And the same thing what you want to do, you're going to be creating something, but most things are complicated. We as humans, as consumers, like things instantly and easily. If we have to think too much, we'll go onto another website. We'll go into another company. Make sense? Now, easier said than done, but the concept is simplify everything you do. Keep it simple. So Richard Branson is no genius. He's just gone, can anyone think of this and go, hang on, if there's an industry that's overcharging, under-delivering, if I can deliver a product or service for a less price in that case, and better service, and keep enough profit margin there, then I can make money. Is that Einstein stuff, yes or no? That is very common sense, very predictable, and then you go on that basis, and as an example. So we don't have to be gurus, we don't have to be geniuses, you just have to be a consumer, which you are, and put yourself in the mind of a consumer, and whatever product or service you're trying to sell or impart or market, be the consumer and say, what would I want? And out of that will come all your ideas. The best market research you will do is say, as a consumer, when you think, why isn't there such and such? Why don't they do it this way? Why don't they do it better? Making sense? That is your ideas that can make you rich. In that is the ideas. You'll see, who thinks we live in an imperfect world? Who thinks we live in an imperfect world? Okay, just checking. Therefore, there lies your opportunity because it is imperfect. The key to creating wealth is you must add value. Therefore, one of the fastest ways to add value is, jot this down, I'm just dumping a lot of stuff out here for you. Somebody saying, how will this all relate? It's all going to come together. Okay? I'm sharing a lot of valuable distinctions here. You can pick up and run with an idea. It can make you a fortune if you start thinking laterally like this. The key to creating wealth is you must add value. The fastest way to add value is to solve problems. To solve problems. So what you should be looking at ideas as entrepreneurs is continually looking at how to solve problems. Now, how I got good at solving problems is that I had a big long list of them myself 15 years ago. I started solving my own problems. I realized if I could solve some of my own problems, I could solve other people's problems. So many business ideas or concepts have come out of that. Looking at a problem and solving it. I can't help myself as an entrepreneur. I walk into any business or whatever, anywhere in the world, my mind is subconsciously ticking away how you could do this better. I'm thinking, why don't they do that? They changed that, they'd increase their sales. They did this, they'd be 10 times more profitable. If they did this, the customer would have a better experience. That's just happening automatically because I'm focused on that. I'm always looking to say, how do you make things better? Who's following what I'm saying here? And you want to start doing that, okay? You want to start doing, how can you make things better? Because as an entrepreneur, there is dozens of ways you can become rich. You want to see some examples this week on the internet. Silly, simple, niche products and services that made people a fortune. You'd be like, why didn't I think of that? We start thinking this way, you'll start thinking of that, okay? So, making sense? Modeling. Find something, anything you want to do has probably already been done before. If it hasn't been done exactly before, find a model that's similar to that, learn off that so you're starting here and you're going to make it better. This is all Richard Branson does. He's not starting here. He's starting up here. And how do you make it better? That will save you the 80%. So then you can go and put your time in here and you make it just that little bit better. You have a better product. You have a better, jot this down, what we call a USP. Jot it down, USP. This is Marketing 101, USP. Who can tell me what a USP is? Yell it out. Unique selling proposition. Okay? Something unique selling proposition. And now I'm going to talk about this in a minute anyhow. We'll talk about what some things, action steps we need to take today that's going to make a big difference. Okay? But before we go into too much marketing, how we market a product or service, I want to teach it from the basis and understand this. Some people say, I don't have a product or service. Yes, you do. You Inc., you are the product or service. Whether you like it or not, you're a commodity. It's going to be a case of how you make yourself a more valuable commodity to increase your income. Does it make sense? Okay, someone's going to get a fine. How much should the fine be? Should we give him one chance without being fined? I don't think you turn it off because I don't think you know how to turn it off. It's all right, technology, you don't need to worry about it. This, it's probably a client calling. It's all right. Best way is take the battery. Just take the battery out. It's the easiest way. That's what I do. I have the same problem. I just take the battery out. It's all right. Well, should we give him one more chance? No fines, but next time someone will take the battery out for you, sir. Okay. So, focus. You Inc. What we're looking at here, say, well, because I just don't want to talk about marketing or how to grow a business, because some of you shut off and go, I'm not even in business yet, or I'm not a business. You are a business. And how much income you're earning right now is a reflection of how much value you add to society. So if you're frustrated with your level of income, you should be going, hang on, I need to add more value. To add more value, I need to increase my skill set. So jot these down very quickly. I mentioned them in my book. 4 key skills that you need to improve if you want to add more value to society, you want to increase your income. And increase it dramatically starting this year. 1, you need to have the ability to communicate more effectively. A very valuable skill. Number 1 is communication. The quality of your life will be determined by the quality of your communication. So this program is not going to teach you about communication. If you want to learn about that, we have a public speaking program. We do very rarely, but it's on home study. Okay, it's a brand new one. It'll come out in a couple of weeks. So if you want to focus on that, that's a skill. Number 2 is the ability to negotiate. You need to, these are what we call generalist skills. At school, we're taught specialized skills. At school, we're taught go off to university, become an accountant, a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, or maybe not a lawyer. Whatever it is, in other words, you're taught specialist skills. You focus on one particular area. Valuable if you want to get a job. However, in society, generalist skills will make you more money. What I mean by this, these are skills that you could use in any industry. and you'll make money. So as long as you're good at these 4 skills, it doesn't matter what you go into, you'll profit more than those who even know how to do what they're doing. Like for instance, I could go into the medical industry and not have done a doctor's degree, and I bet you I can make more money out of the medical industry than the average doctor. Why? Because I'm entrepreneurial and I have these 4 key skills. So negotiate, the ability to negotiate. Anything you do, you have to negotiate. Okay? You have to negotiate your kids to clean up their bedroom on time. Okay? You have to negotiate with your boss to get a pay rise. You have to negotiate with your partner for them to marry you. Everything is a negotiation. Third key skill is the ability to market. Okay, marketing skills. I don't just mean a marketing degree at university. We're talking, real life marketing skills. I'm going to cover a lot of those today for you. We also have a sales and marketing program. If you want to learn more about that, we do that rarely. We'll do some next year, but it's also on home study as well. We just refilmed it a couple of days ago. So if you want to focus on those areas, if you said to me, Jamie, what's the main skill that I need to learn if I want to increase my income? Guess what it is? Circle it. It's marketing. If you want to earn a lot more money, you need to have marketing skills. Because no matter what company you work for, they need to market what they do. They need to do better. You need to market yourself better as far as how you have a unique selling proposition, how you get a pay rise is all about marketing. Okay? The value that you can generate. And number 4 key skill is, the 4th and final one, is the ability to solve problems. Creative thinking. Entrepreneurs take time out to think. Creative thinking is one of the greatest skill sets of an entrepreneur. And that's what you're going to be doing. Entrepreneurs solve problems all the time. I know as an entrepreneur, all I'm doing every day is solving problems. And you jot this down. This is a saying that I live by. A problem known is a problem half solved. A problem known is a problem half solved. What I mean by that is the biggest problems are the ones you don't know about. They're the problems you're going to watch out for. So a problem known is a problem half solved. If you know about the problem, then you're not in denial, and then you can quickly solve it. It's the problems you don't know about that cause you the problems. Okay? So problem known is a problem half solved. So there are 4 key skills. You can just rate yourself very quickly now, 0 to 10, 10 being outstanding in each of those skills. So as a communicator, you might say, you're a 5, as an example. Okay? You might be a 0, you might be a 9. Ability to negotiate. Just be honest with yourself. Do I have great negotiating skills or very poor? The ability to market. Are you very good at marketing or could you improve? And creative thinking and problem solving. Because it's the improvement in these skills that's going to improve your ability to apply any of this stuff in any aspect of your life. Now, some of you that are doing very well in some particular endeavor will be able to look and go, actually, that's why I'm doing well, because I've developed my ability to negotiate really well. And as a result of that, that's improved your results. True? Or I've really got good at marketing. But if I was to say, for most people in our society, are they good at these 4 general skills? Yes or no? The majority of people. Yet you could take these skills into any industry. Does every industry need these skill sets? Yes or no? Whether you're a doctor, a nurse, an accountant, whatever you do, a school teacher, these skills are applicable. And you have them, you increase your income. So what we want to do, first of all, you Inc., is that, let's assume that you're self-employed. I'm sorry, not employed, you're an employee. So most people start here. So even if you've moved out of this stage, jot this down because it's something you can help other people with. So you're an employee. The biggest limitation of being an employee is that most people are paid, 1, they're told to work 9 to 5, which usually means 8 to 7, okay, in a corporate world. 5 days a week, which often means 6 days a week these days. So the idea of working and then having 2 to 4 weeks off at the end of the year. I don't know who invented that idea. I think it's dumb. But people just follow it. Everyone just follows it because that's a predetermined agreement. Everyone accepts the status quo. You work 9 to 5, and you work 5 days a week, maybe 6, and you get, in America, you get 2 weeks off. In Australia, you get lucky, you get 4 weeks off. In France, you get 54 weeks off the year, okay? So basically, you sell your time for money. So the challenge because to have a quality of life, to have lifestyle, you need 2 things. Tell me what those 2 things are. Time and money. So this is the equation. You don't have to be a genius to figure this out, but this is where most people lose. You need both time and money. But what they're doing is they're selling this to get this. Because money is very addictive. It's very tempting. Okay? Let me give a test for you to see how addicted you are to money. $10,000 a month. Let's say you had the choice between $10,000 a month, but you have to work a corporate career, hours, 9 to 5, probably longer, 50, 60 hours a week, and you get a couple of weeks holiday off a year. $10,000 per month. Or option 2, $5,000 a month, passive or semi-passive income. Who would take the $10,000 a month? Yeah, a few people? One person? Just you, ma'am. Who would take the $5,000 passive or semi-passive? Okay, because you know what the right answer is. It's up to you what you do, okay? So, but let's change this then. Let's say $20,000 a month. You're offered $20,000 a month. First $5,000. Who's starting to get tempted that $20,000? Come on, be honest. Who'd be tempted by that $20,000? Okay. What if I said this? $40,000 a month. Now you're talking. It's like, forget the time. I'll sell myself for whatever time it takes. $40,000 a month. I'm sold. True? And in that is the addiction of money and why most people will sacrifice their lifestyle, the time, for the money. Now, often they will say, I will just do it for a short period of time and then set myself up and then do it. But generally what happens when people get addicted to this is it easy to walk away, yes or no? Because they get comfortable with a lifestyle of $40,000. So $40,000 a month is effectively $480,000 a year. But I'm suggesting to you is this, if quality of life is what we're after, see, in money there's a law of diminishing return. Money has a different value subject to your age and subject to the amount. i.e., being a millionaire and becoming a self-made millionaire at 92 versus 21. Who'd rather do it at 21? Because $1 million at 21 has a much higher value than being a millionaire at 92. At 92, it really has a diminishing value to you, okay? And you see that in our country. But the other diminishing value is this. Money up to a certain level has high value and then it diminishes. For instance, the first $1 million a year in income, is that fairly high value, yes or no? But once you've got $1 million, let's say then you're earning $100 million a year. The last 50 million of that 100 million, does it have the same value as the first million, yes or no? It has a law of diminishing return. It's, because how much you only need X amount of million a year to pretty much have anything you can imagine, true? After that, money then starts to have a declining value. Who's following what I'm saying here? Okay? But people get addicted to the stuff. Here I'm suggesting if quality of life was our outcome, okay, then I'm suggesting that someone on $5,000 a month passive or semi-passive income has a better quality of life than someone on $40,000 a month or effectively $500,000 a year corporate job. Does it make sense? But the addiction of money pulls us to here. Even if we delude ourselves, oh, we'll just do it for X amount of years and then we're set up for life. And often we just get caught into that. But that's the difference. So there's a different value on money, whether it's active versus passive or semi-passive. So what I'm trying to highlight to you, you don't even need to become a millionaire to have the lifestyle that most people want. A millionaire's lifestyle, why do people want it? Because the things that they can get, the time and the money. But many people that are millionaires have actually sold out their time and still don't have both. So often this is enough. Now, of course, you have $40,000 a month passive, who'd want that? That would be the ultimate goal, but you don't necessarily even need that. $5,000 a month passive for most people can deliver an extraordinary quality of life. That first $5,000 a month passive is the most value money you're going to get. The second $5,000 still valuable to get up to $10,000, but not as valuable. Do you see that? So $5,000 is only what, $60,000 a year. But think about this quality of life. There's two forms of holiday. Now, my methodology has been, the last 10 years, I've taught people what I did, and I'm going to share as I walk through. Some people say, how did you get started? I'm going to walk through what I did, okay? So you can model that if you wish, but I'm teaching you from the strategy viewpoint of how it was effective, okay? But what I did was that I created this concept that you should holiday and have mini retirements regularly. So I used to talk about you go on a holiday every one week out of every 4 to 8 weeks. You want to jot that down, 1 week out of every 4 to 8 weeks, up to you how you adjust this. Or now what I often do is do a project 3 months on, 1 month off. Okay? So however you want, but this concept of working all your life to age 65 and then one day having what you want, jot this down. What it is deferment. People are constantly deferring their life. These people are deferring their life. I want to get this money, it's going to give me this, and then one day I can save up in a couple of years or 5 years or 10 years. I'll then be able to work less and have time with my family. I'll be able to work less and do this. It's deferring, it's putting this off. We continually in society have been fooled into deferment. The idea, work all your life, get 65, and then you're going to finally live life. I don't know about you, but I'm sure 65 is a good age. However, I would hate to sacrifice the best years of my life for the pursuit of money. I would hate to do that. 65 is a great age, but also 35 is a great age too, is that right? So is 25, so is 45. Why do we get caught up and addicted to this thing called money, where we sacrifice our best years of our life for deferment for one day? I think it's a disease. And it's an epidemic in our society. Who's following what I'm saying here? Dangerous trap to fall into. Dangerous trap. Now, most people think the biggest thing they need for lifestyle is money. But it's not. It's time and it's planning. Most people could have a quality of life on a fraction of the money they need. You don't even need to become a millionaire to live a dream life. And I'll prove that to you today. I have no issues if you want to become a millionaire. I know some of you already are. But even then, I have friends that have been incredibly wealthy, have been worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but fell in the trap of deferment and still didn't have the quality of their life. And where I got this idea from was that my first mentor, he was a warning, an example in many areas as far as property investing, things like that I wanted to learn from him, but he was a warning in other areas. The warning was he was a workaholic, his relationships were struggling, and his work consumed his life. Okay? And he didn't have time off, etc. like that. And that was a warning and plan that said, you know what? I'm going to do things differently. I have a strong work ethic. I want to do things that I'm passionate about, I believe in. However, I'm not going to buy into this deferment. I'm going to live my life now as well as plan for the future. I'm going to go on regular holidays even before I become a millionaire. I set this process in. And it was a very effective way. So, because I was willing to say, I don't know whether I'll be alive in 10 years or 20 years or 50 years. I'm going to live my life now. Now, I'm not going to go and party now, spend everything, party today because you could be dead tomorrow. The challenge with that strategy is usually we wake up and we're alive with a hangover, okay? So we can't be, then we say we're not going to, you're just going to sacrifice now and defer everything to the future to one day. That's also a dangerous trap. The balance is in the middle to say, hang on, I'm going to plan for tomorrow and I want to have a better future because I believe in my future, but I'm also going to smell the roses today and enjoy the journey. Now, it's a delicate balance, is that true? And often we get caught up in making a living that we forget to live. And we all can be guilty of that. But if we can stay focused on that, what's the most important? So my passion is really to help more people be able to get in a position like this. Now, if you can then accelerate that to excessive amounts of income, that's a bonus. But this is the most valuable $5,000 a month you'll ever make. So it gives you your freedom, okay? It gives you freedom. There's two forms of holidays. There's the typical holiday most people go on. I call it the stressful holiday. Stressful holiday, I don't know if you ever tried this before, I used to do it. Working a job, hard to get any time off, go on a holiday, you don't really have the money, but you're so stressed you need to go on a holiday. So you put it on your credit card, you go somewhere, and it's like, and then when you're on the holiday, you continually have this negative anchor when you spend things, it's so costly, you're thinking, my God, I've got to pay this back when I go back to work, I don't want to go back to work, and you're trying to relax and enjoy a holiday, especially if you go to countries where the currency is much higher. So, ever been to London before? Can that be a depressing experience? You're like, just a cup of tea costs you friggin' $15, you know. So it gets so expensive it becomes depressing. And then you know, well, I'm trying to relax, but I've got to come back and I've got to work harder now to pay off the holiday. Is that really a holiday, yes or no? No. A real holiday is this, a holiday where you go away and you're using money you've already saved up, or better still, you don't have to save it up because you're earning passive or semi-passive income. In other words, you're laying by the beach, some tropical location or whatever you like to do on holidays, and you know that you're earning $5,000 a month or more passive income, which is over $1,000 a week. And you know that that money, while you're laying around by the pool, you're actually earning money while you sleep. And the money is actually paying you to be there. You don't have to pay the holiday off, it's already paid, and you actually have to go out and go shopping at least several days of the holiday and spend some of this money. Otherwise, you're earning more money while you sleep than you're spending, and that's going to create a problem because money's going to build up, and then next holiday you have to spend twice as much, etc. Who likes the idea of that holiday? Okay, that's a real holiday. Okay, people want a millionaire's lifestyle because they want the freedom, and you don't even have to become a millionaire. Let's focus on getting this taken care of, this $4,000 or $5,000 a month, passive or semi-passive income. Now, what I mean by semi-passive, most people, the challenge is they might have the $5,000 a month income now, but it's active. We just need to convert that to passive in the fastest way possible. So employees earning an income, let's say the $5,000 a month, but the problem is they're selling their time, so it's active, and they're selling 9 to 5, they don't have much quality of life. Okay? So what we want to do is perhaps change that. So the first step of getting out of your job or getting a pay rise, the first step is what I did, is I wanted to go, jot this down, you should work to learn, not necessarily to earn. Where most people go to work because they want the high paying job or just want the money. Okay? I went to work to learn. So I wanted to learn off a mentor. I didn't know this guy yet, so I wanted to develop relationships, so I went to work for one of his companies. There was no job there, but I knew someone in one of the companies that had said, you want to learn off this guy? And so I convinced him to give, not my mentor at this point, because he was the owner of the company, managers down at a lower level, that I had someone in there who said, look, here's what I'm willing to do. It's how I got the job. For instance, I offered a free trial. Jot this down, free trial. Remember, I'm marketing myself here. So, Jamie, what's that got to do with me making money? Well, one of the ways you're going to market yourself or a product or service is via a free trial. You Inc., free trial. So there was no job there, but I really wanted to work for this company because I wanted to learn about investment and financial services and things like that because I wanted to master money. That was one of my goals. So I was interested in learning. The money was secondary. I offered a free trial. I said, look, I know there's no job here, but I'm really committed. I really want to work for this company. I want to learn. Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to work for free for X period of time. I think it was 1 or 2 weeks. And at the end of that time, if I can convince you that I can add value to your organization and make a difference, you'll agree to give me a job. But if I can't, then it costs you nothing. Is that a good deal, yes or no? Yep. How many employers in the room would like an employee coming to them with that proposal? Okay, you love it because you go, this person's got initiative. Most employees don't offer that sort of thing. They're obviously prepared to back themselves, and it's a good way to get some slave labor as well. Is that true? Okay, so therefore, that's one way that I got a job even when it wasn't there. Okay, so as a result of that, went on the free trial. Of course, I committed. I did whatever it took to prove that I could add value. So then I was offered a job. Most people at the time were being paid working in that particular division of the company about $50,000 a year. Okay, now this is going back nearly 15 years ago, so it was decent money. I had the choice to take the safe, secure option of a salary. It's addictive. That's certain income because I needed it. I was $150,000 in debt, sleeping on my friend's couch at this point in time. So I needed the income to pay him some rent. So what I did, though, I made a different choice. I made an entrepreneurial choice. I could have went the employee security, certainty up front. You want to jot this down. The ability to deal with uncertainty in your life is a direct correlation to your ability to become wealthy. Jot that down. Your ability to deal with uncertainty in your life is a direct correlation to your ability to become wealthy. What does that mean, Jamie? Well, think of the opposite then. The greater your need for certainty in your life is the greater your inability to become wealthy. You apply this to wealth, you apply this to relationships, you can apply this to everything. In other words, the greater your ability to deal with uncertainty in your life is the greater the ability to become wealthy. The inverse of that, if the greater the need you have for certainty, then that increases your inability to become wealthy, increases your inability to be successful in relationships, etc. Does it make sense? Because you become needy and needing that sense of certainty. What it means in income is this. If you need a lot of certainty, the word for that is security. People want job security. So the more certainty they get, they will take a salary. Why? Because it's certain. Okay? Say $50,000 a year as a salary. Certain, secure. Even though it's a delusion anyhow, because if you take on a job and don't perform, is it secure, yes or no? So it's just a delusion. It's just a perception, mindset that people have, and they fall into that trap. It sounds secure, but you trade off your certainty for lower income. That's what I'm saying. The more certainty you need, the lower your income is, okay? Because that's pretty much all you're going to earn, maybe some bonuses. So you got your certainty, but you got a lower income. What I did was something different. I said, you know what? What I want to do is I don't want to go on a standard employee arrangement like everyone else does. Why? Change your own arrangements. You are in charge. I said, here's what I want to do. I want to go on a performance-based contract. Performance-based contract. Now, here is the distinction here. Performance-based contract. The reason most people aren't wealthy is they're selling what? They're selling their time. You want to sell a what? Sell a service or a product, etc. But what you effectively want to sell is a result. Jot that down. The difference is you want to sell a result. If you're selling your time, you have screwed yourself financially. You're locked in. You've got the money, but you lost your lifestyle. Okay? You've sold your time for your money. It's addictive, and people do it all the time. If I can shift to selling a result, in the beginning, there's no guaranteed income because if I don't perform, I don't get paid anything. But if I can deal with that uncertainty, which I developed the ability to deal with uncertainty, then my potential to earn a large income and become wealthy was far greater. Because a large income is uncertain. You might make 100,000 one year, you might make $1 million one year, back down to $500,000 the next year, up to 10 million. Who likes the idea of that uncertain income, by the way? If you look in a different way, that's uncertain. It's not, other people want certainty. I want a guaranteed upfront, told I'm going to make 50,000 a year. Fantastic. That's what you're going to get. That's all you're going to get. I want uncertainty. Why? Because I can profit from it. I want the uncertainty. I might be able to make 100,000, 500,000, $1 million. Let me deal with that uncertainty. Making sense? So by selling their time, they're selling themselves out. I changed to selling a result, performance-based contract. So I started up front from that. Now, many people start an employee relationship on a salary base, but you can then switch that later through negotiation, etc. We can look at doing that. So as a result of that, performance-based contract based on the results that I produce. I was willing to back myself. Now, in the beginning, had to deal with that uncertainty. But that decision set me on the path to becoming wealthy. If I had taken the comfortable route, I would have got comfortable, I would have got addicted to the money, I would have deferred life, had that so-called security, which is just an illusion because the job can disappear outside of my control, or disappear if I'm not performing anyhow, because any salary position is performance-based anyhow. Is it not true? If you work for a company, the days of hiding out in a company and hoping you don't get found out that you're not doing any work are pretty much over. Is that true? Unless you live in New South Wales and work for the government. Okay? Now, let's not pick on the government. There's enough people doing that already. I used to joke one of the reasons I buy so much land and so many farms in northern New South Wales is my goal has been to buy up New South Wales effectively and change the government. But that was getting too expensive, so I'm trying to figure out a cheaper way to do that. So I might need your help, okay? So the point being is, where was I up to? You distracted me. What was I talking about? New South Wales government, that's what I was on about. So the places that you used to want to, if you didn't want to work really, but you wanted to be employed but not actually work. There's a lot of, that's part of, some people are proud of that in Australia, like how to get money without doing anything. So you would generally go and work for banks in the past, is that true? Telstra was a good one, is that right? You could work for, be employed by Telstra but not actually work in the past. But these companies become privatised. Is that true? They used to be government organisations. Now they're privatised. Can you hide out in the banking industry right now and not perform? Doubt it. Can you hide out in Telstra and not perform? Harder to do, but the Probably spoke to some Telstra people that are doing that, but harder to do. So privatisation's eliminated that. The last place you can do that is in the government. Now, even in the government now, is it getting harder and harder to hide out? Much harder. Okay, they're trying to cut, make things more efficient, etc., because they have to. Okay, so I share this story because it came out a couple of years ago, and then it hits the paper every year. New South Wales, to my knowledge, still has this to this day, a non-redundancy policy. In other words, what happens if there's no job for you, so the job disappears or the department disappears, they can't sack you. Non-redundancy policy. So what they do is they put you in limbo. You still have to report to work, you go into a department, you report to work, log into your computer, there's no work for you because your job's gone, it's been outsourced or what disappeared, but they can't sack you. So there's X amount of people, I think last count was over 500 people in New South Wales government that are on non-redundancy and they're still getting paid, and it hit the news because they got awarded a pay rise. Okay? So they've been working for a year, haven't actually done anything, they got a pay rise as well because everyone else got a pay rise. They can't like discriminate against the people, the fact they're not doing anything in the first place. So there's very few jobs available left, okay, where you can actually hide out and not perform. Is that true? So the illusion of we're already on a performance-based contract, let's set it up and actually get paid a lot from it so you can negotiate. And there's not many entrepreneurs or employers who will not be open to someone getting paid a large amount of income. Jerry Harvey of Harvey Norman fame has a very similar methodology. He tends to have in his organisations, franchises, etc., low bases and large performance. So people that really perform and outperform earn a much larger income. And as an entrepreneur, depends on the industry, depends on the company, but in most cases, I like that. I don't mind. I have people in my organisation, some people that earn a very large amounts of income. Okay, why? But they have to deliver a result. They have to perform. Okay, but they'll get a lower base, in some cases no base, but they get a higher upside. Because then it takes the risk away for the employer, because you have to pay base salaries or high base salaries, it increases the risk, and if they don't perform. So what you're doing is jot this word down, you're doing a risk reversal effectively. Now I'm sharing this with you as I go through an example of how to improve your income. You're saying, maybe that doesn't relate to you. But everything I'm sharing with you here, if you're smart, is how you're going to market anything, not just yourself, how you're going to market your internet business or anything. Risk reversal, a very critical concept. In any transaction with a consumer, there's someone that has to take the risk. It's usually you as a consumer that takes the risk. You buy a fridge from Harvey Norman, and if the fridge doesn't work, you're taking on the risk. But generally there's warranties or guarantees. If there's a guarantee put in place, it gives you peace of mind that if it doesn't work or breaks down in a certain period, there's a guarantee it'll be fixed. Make sense? It's a risk reversal. You take away the risk. By reversing the risk, you can potentially increase the what? The sales. So it helps you sell a product or service. So with your internet businesses that you're going to learn how to go about doing that this weekend, you should be thinking, should I be adding a risk reversal? A money-back guarantee is an example of a risk reversal. In the case of a free trial trying to get a job, the risk reversal was I'd work for X period of time for free. What if you already have a job and you want to get a promotion, you want to increase your income? Who would like to increase their income in the next 12 months just from your job? Okay? One simple way to get a promotion is do the same thing. Do a risk-free offer. So look, I'd like to be promoted into this position. Here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to take on the extra responsibilities of that role for X period of weeks, 2 weeks or whatever you decide. And you don't have to pay me any extra. I will do that for those extra responsibilities and prove to you that I will be capable at delivering these set results in that role. And I'll do it for 2 weeks or whatever on a free trial for nothing, no extra. However, at the end of that time, if I can meet these set KPIs or these set criteria that you've set, will you agree to promoting me into that role and giving me this X salary? Does that make sense? So you're putting a proposition there risk-free. And if you do it correctly, it increases your chance of being promoted. Does it make sense? And as a result, that's one way to get a pay rise. So, performance-based. As a result of that, I went on contract, performance-based, and I was able to then outperform the other people that were employee-based. Now, you think about why people become bludgers. Because the system encourages it. Is it true? Thank God it's Friday and bludge, because you get paid, if you're paid $50,000 a year as an employee for your time. If you're productive and get your work done by Wednesday, are you allowed to take Thursday, Friday off? Yes or no? You have to show up. You have to be there. There's no reward for you to get your job done quicker in most cases. If you actually get your job done quicker and be most productive, what generally happens? You get more work. So the other bludgers in the organisation, you're taking over their work, do you generally get paid more? Very rarely, if you do, a law of diminishing return. You might get paid a little bit extra, but you're spending all this extra time. So the system, the typical system does not reward productivity. But if you want to become successful and increase your income dramatically, you have to take charge and become productive, but change your working relationship so you're rewarded for it. So what I started to do is to say, hang on, I'm highly motivated, I'm performance-based. These guys are on $50,000 a year, I'm going to kick their butt. I'm going to kick their butt because I'm motivated, I'm driven, I'm results-focused. We're there, they come into work, they don't care, they're going to take all week to do their job, they're not getting much bonuses, so will they really put the extra effort in? They're just there for a cushy job, okay? Where I'm there for a result. I'm only here to learn and earn X amount of money. I want to learn, I'm moving on, I know what I'm planning to do, so I'm focused and I have a strong sense of urgency. So what I'm going to do in my time, do you think I'm more motivated every hour of the day? Yes or no? Absolutely. So I'm also into leverage, automation and leverage. I'm looking at how do I not just use my time on a result, how can I think outside the box and use marketing strategies, etc. Because what I needed to do was bring clients into that organization. The more clients I brought in, the more money I made. And then I developed and focused on marketing, and I realized that he had a whole group of companies. Rather than bring a client into the company I was working for, what if I brought that client into one company, but then he had all these other companies, he had accounting, practice, he had financial services, he had financial planning, he had real estate, commercial property, a whole range of companies. So I thought, what if this client also wanted to do business or was interested in other services these other companies offered? So I could bring the client in once, but jot this down, lifetime value of a client. Jot it down. So I'm teaching as I share my story through this because all these things are going to make a lot of sense when we apply it to a business. Lifetime value of a client. I'm going to come back to that later. But how do I increase my income? I brought these clients in once. I got effective at a leverage way, which I'll teach you in marketing, to bring a lot of clients in to that business. But then I thought, hang on, what if these clients wanted products and services, or I could promote products and services from these other companies? One client could then become a lifetime value. They could then be using the other services, the other companies. So let's say he's got 5 companies as an example, and they use each of those 5 companies. I've got 5 times the result from the one client, and I can earn a percentage on that and increase my income. See what I'm doing there? I'm not working any harder, I'm working smarter. Where do I get these ideas from? I focused and studied on marketing. I went to marketing seminars. I read books. I learned off mentors. I applied the ideas into his company and increased his profitability. Now, in the beginning, I had no relationship with my mentor. I had to prove myself. And as I worked my way up in the organization, I proved and put ideas and they worked. Even though I gave a lot of ideas away for free in the beginning, don't be too hung onto your ideas. Prove yourself. Develop the credibility. Get a result. Like my friend I was talking to last night, 6 months in the company, he's been promoted to sales director, gets to fly around the world and will earn $1.5 million. There'll be other people in that company that have been there longer and are probably jealous and annoyed. How come he got promoted? He got promoted because, one, he gave away several ideas to these owners of the company to increase their prices and quadruple their sales. So then he had credibility built. He went back with another idea. They were still a bit standoffish. He's going, guys, I just quadrupled your sales. This idea will work. No, it won't work. We've been in this industry for so many years, it won't work. And he goes, well, it works in other industries. Here's a good point too if you want marketing ideas. What do most companies do in the same industry? What do they do? Who do they copy? Each other. So they're just copying the same thing. There's a lack of innovation. One of the best ideas is go to another industry and take ideas from there and add it to an industry. Think outside the box. And this is what he was doing. As a result, the second idea worked, doubled their sales again. Now were they now open to him negotiating? Then come the third idea. He's getting smarter now. But he's not going to give the third idea away for free. And that's where he pitched. I want a promotion. I want this, this, and this. Performance-based. If I achieve this outcome, this is what I'm going to earn. Deal done. Does it make sense? So you may have to give some ideas away. Now, this is if you want to be an entrepreneur within the organization you're working for. How do you increase your income? How you're going to increase your income is add value. Jot this down. There's 2 ways to add value to a company. It's very common sense. One, Now, by the way, what I'm teaching you helped me go from equivalent effectively 50,000 a year to a little over a year later to nearly $1 million, over $750,000 in income. Who would like to replicate that, by the way? Okay, you need to stay awake for this session. Now, I'm not promising to replicate that, but if all you got was a 10% increase in the next 12 months on your income, what is that worth to you over the next decade? These ideas can dramatically grow your income because thinking outside the box. So what I did, I knew this. There's only two ways to add value to a company. One, I needed to help the company decrease their expenses, lower their cost base. Is this particularly hard to do in companies? Let me ask you this question. Who thinks the company you work for, or if it's your own company, it's possible to eliminate some unnecessary expenses? Who thinks that's possible? Who thinks companies waste money? You see it all the time. You see it all the time, you probably don't care about it. I mean, most employees, they're stealing the paper clips and pens at lunchtime, okay? They're taking them home. In other words, we want to be focused on the profitability of the company you work for and care about the company because you are an entrepreneur within that company and you're going to get paid more by showing to your owner or to your managers that you actually care about the profitability of the company and you're interested in improving the profitability of the company. So I started looking in my mentors' companies. After a while, I was looking around and thought all this wastage, things they didn't need to spend money on, they could have got cheaper, or simple inefficiencies. Often they would sell one-to-one to pitch to potential clients one-on-one. I'm thinking, I'm not going to do that one-on-one, wasting my time. I'm going to get 20 potential clients in a room and explain to them the benefits all in one. Why? Jot the word down, leverage. I could achieve 20 times as much. I'm going to actually get better qualified potential clients. I'm not going to waste my time with, in other words, I was doing the 80-20. I'm going to go for the 20% of most interested. I'm not going to waste my time on the 80%, for instance, that are really interested in the product or service the company had to offer. Because why would I waste my time? I'm after the 80-20 principle. After 20% of the time is going to produce 80% of the results. Who's following what I'm saying here? These are simple observations, but you start doing anything that you do. Next week, you could be doing this. So decrease the expenses of a company. So I looked around his company, I thought a lot of inefficiencies, and I gave some ideas away for free. Then I would pitch an idea and say, I've got an idea that will save the company X amount of dollars. All I ask in return for that idea, if you use it, if you choose to use my idea, that you'll agree to give me, say, 5% of the increased profits. Now, because I'd built up credibility, I've given them ideas, added value, produced, and proven myself, they were open to those such ideas. Does that make sense? So now, guess what? Instead of having one income, I now had a percentage deal, a secondary income. And if you can do that once, can you do it again and again? Started doing other incomes in my spare time because I wasn't filling in time like the employees. I realized I could earn more than them in 1 day a week. So I squeezed my work in. I said, you know what? I want to take 1 week off every month. So I've got to figure out how to get 4 weeks worth of work done in 3 weeks. Make sense? The reward being I get 1 week off to go see Australia, go travel. I don't need to spend a lot of money, but that's the reward. So what I'm doing, I'm setting the game up not to be deferment, short-term goals. A lot of people don't do this. They're like, I'm going to work really hard for 5 years and then I'm going to go on a holiday. Wrong. Doesn't work that way. Short-term goals. So I squeeze the work into 3 weeks. 3 weeks. How do I do that? Ask the question. Ask yourself this question right now. How can I do next month's work, 4 weeks worth of work, in 3 weeks? Ask a better question and get a better answer. Some of you might think, Jamie, you don't understand my work. I'm busy. I'm flat out already. There's no way I can do more in less time. Jot this down. Bullshit. Story you're selling yourself. Who's willing to be honest? Raise your hand if you're willing to be honest. Who's willing to admit you could probably, there's some way that you could perform better than what you're currently performing? Absolutely. 80-20 principle, just focus on that. That'll get you thinking next week going, hang on a minute, is this producing the 20% or the 80%? Just that, just observing what you do. Do a time log on a day-to-day basis. Log your time. Oh, Jamie, I don't have time to do that stuff. Do it. A time log. What do you actually spend your time on during the day? In other words, what you've done for 9 to 9:15, 10 to 10:15. You just note it down. It takes a few seconds, note it down, look at it. Start to analyze what you do. You only have 24 hours in a day. Analyze and say, what result did that produce? What result did this produce? And you start to notice, talking around the coffee machine to other staff members, is that producing your future, yes or no? Taking phone calls that interrupt your work that you're meant to be focused on, that may be reasonably important but not that important. Does that really help you do what you want to do? Being on Facebook during work hours, okay? Is that really helping you get where you want to go, okay? So there's a lack of productivity. Switch so you're getting results-based, or a combination might be salary-based but bigger bonuses for producing a result. Squeeze the time down so anyone can do this. If you change the contract, I was on contract up front, so I didn't have to be there 4 weeks of the year. I started at the beginning of the year and worked out, I'm going to take one holiday once a month for 12 months. I was excited. I was planning in advance all the places I'm going to go to. I wanted to go and see Ayers Rock, okay, to see whether your Telstra mobile phone really does work up there, okay? I wanted to prove that. I wanted to see, I used to be frustrated. Americans would come out here, friends from overseas, and they'd be like, oh, the Great Barrier Reef, man, that is awesome. What do you think of that? I'd be like, yeah, it's good. It's great. I've never been there before. It's embarrassment, okay? You haven't even seen your own country. Haven't been to Kakadu, okay? So I realized life was ticking by. We live in a beautiful country, live in a beautiful world. Why are we working all the time and not enjoying it? Oh, I don't have the money. BS. We find the money when we want to do something, don't we? If we really want to do something, I don't have the time. Well, change. You signed up for a deal that they own your time. You didn't have to. You can renegotiate that deal. You don't have to do what everyone else does. Everyone else is going to be a deferrer, and they're going to lose the best years of their life, sacrifice for what? Money they don't really need, they don't really want, for things they buy they don't really want, at the end of the day don't really mean anything. Who's following what I'm saying here? We have to change what we do. Otherwise, we'll get caught up in making a living and forget to live. Simple cliche, but it's true, isn't it? So, expenses. Cut expenses. Look in a company how you can get rid of expenses. Right now, many companies are doing this. So, if you can look around your company and find ways you cut expenses, do a percentage deal. Okay? And if you're having difficulty with the company you work for, you say, I hate this company I work for, why would I help it make more profit? Well, that should be a good indication maybe you should move on. Okay? Move on to a company that you enjoy working, you believe in something, you're learning, you're growing, then you'll be more motivated. Do something you want to do. Don't just sell your time, okay, for the sake of money. It's the most saddest existence there is. Time is precious. Don't waste it. 2, the other thing you're going to do is learn how to increase its sales. Now, you might say, Jamie, I don't work in sales. BS. Everyone works in sales. Oh, Jamie, but I work in the accounts department. Well, hello. Do you have a clearly defined target that you have to produce? If you don't, you should have. If you work in the accounts department, you still work in sales. Your sales target would be to get X amount of money processed or X amount of debt collected. It's still a target. Is that true? It's still a result. It's still effectively sales. Everyone works in sales. There's a story Robert Kiyosaki used to share. And Robert being, a very famous best-selling author, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and books like that. And he had a lady come up to him once in a seminar that he was delivering and say, look, I want to be like you. I want to be a best-selling author. So Robert said, you know what you should do? Is you should go and study some sales then. Oh, no. I'm not going to do sales. I'm like, I don't like that sort of stuff. That's not me. I've got, In other words, thought she was too good to do selling or sales. And he had to highlight to her, he said, best-selling author. What is it? Best-selling. It is sales. Does that make sense? So some people in our society have this salesperson. Jot this down. 0 to 10. Are you good at selling or you're bloody hopeless? Whether you like it or not, you are a salesperson. Now, you can change that identity of yourself, whatever, but you're in sales. I don't care if you're a parent working from home. Do you not have to sell your children to do things at time? Bribe them, whatever it takes, okay? Everything you do is you are selling an idea, a concept, a product or service, your employer. Most people feel insecure. They say, Jamie, I'm not in business for myself. Well, yes, you are. The reason you feel insecure because you're in business for yourself, but you only have one client. And that one client can sack you at any time. And guess who that one client is? Your boss. And you feel insecure. I'm suggesting change the rules, have multiple clients, i.e. multiple incomes. diversify, expand. Not only will it increase your income, free up your time, it'll stimulate you more. Why do I still start businesses? Why do I still do different careers? Why? Because it stimulates me. If I did the one thing over and over again, then it becomes mundane, becomes boring. I wouldn't do it. Like for me, I love to speak. It's one of my careers. I love to speak occasionally. But if I had to do this every single day, do you think it'd be a little bit mundane after a while? It would, trust me, it would be. Okay? It would be mundane. So I speak maybe 20 days a year. Something different amongst everything else that I do. Stimulates me. If I had to do it over, so I created multiple different careers and different things. Why? Because it stimulates, I enjoy it. So make your career more interesting. What we're looking at, even not just internet incomes as we move into that in particular after lunch, we'll be going for a lunch break shortly. But I want you to think about, even as an employee, one, you can be an entrepreneur within the organization you work for. Two, time plus money equals lifestyle. So let's rearrange our working relationship, because the fastest way to get lifestyle, I had quality of life before I become a millionaire. Actually becoming much wealthier and sometimes has reduced my quality of life. So the amount of money has no correlation after a certain amount. It can actually reduce your quality of life because you have a lot more responsibilities, like having a lot of companies. So even then I have to be able to manage that so it doesn't lose your quality of life. So time plus money. So if you can rearrange your current structure, one, you can earn more money by working less. That's what we're doing here with the 80-20 principle. Earn more money, but by working less. And by doing that, by being a performance-based contract, or at least part of it in that, you can increase your revenue, increase your income. And the one way you're going to do that is looking at how the company you work for, you can decrease their expenses and increase their sales. How do you go about increasing their sales? It's once you study marketing, what you've been taught here, and additional skills, then it becomes nature. Most businesses, it's fundamental. Marketing doesn't change. It's a fundamental principles you can apply. Once you can do it once with a company you're working for, you can do it for most companies over and over again. So it's very easy for me, as an entrepreneur that's built many businesses, to look at other businesses and say how they could do a couple of things, this, and this, and change, and they could double their revenues. That's just a skill set I have because I've been able to do it over and over again. Okay? So that becomes very valuable. You can be a consultant, you can just charge time for those ideas, you can work on percentage deals, you can do that even as an employer. I know some people that were working for a company, they would set up a percentage deal, and they would then eventually leave that company and do other things or work for another company. They'd still be getting an income, a percentage deal they set up from their previous employer. It's just a different way of thinking, because once you set up a deal and add value, you get paid for adding value. You don't necessarily get paid for selling your time. So here's the illusion that most people are caught up in. You ask people what they're doing, oh, I'm very busy, I'm so busy. Okay? So being busy and becoming wealthy has nothing to do with each other. Do you understand that? Working hard and making money in the 21st century has nothing to do with each other. So, like perfectionists, being busy, jot this down, is a cop-out. It's an excuse. Now, a lot of people do it because perception is reality. They want their bosses to think they're busy doing stuff. Okay? So often the system is set up not to be efficient, because some people are like, well, if I figure out how to do my job in half the time, or how to eliminate my job through automation, then maybe I'll lose my job. Therefore, I'm not going to drive or share efficiencies. I'm going to fill up time and tell my boss or my managers I'm busy. So I justify my salary or justify my position. Does that make sense? So it breeds inefficiencies. But most companies could achieve double with half the time. I know in some of my companies have reduced staff levels by 40, 50%. We've actually not lost one element of productivity. So it makes you question, what were those people doing beforehand? Inefficient, not necessary. So a good question if you want to cut costs is, who's critical? Who in an organization is critical to the company's performance and who's not? That will usually eliminate a lot of people. So obviously if you work for a company, you don't get to say who gets eliminated, but as one of my mentors said, Jamie, most overhead has two legs. Okay? Most overhead in companies have two heads. Two legs, two heads, okay? In Tasmania maybe, but oh, that's a bit... Look, we're in Sydney, come on. There's no one from Tasmania here, surely. That's why we don't do seminars in Tasmania. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed there. No, actually, I shouldn't pick on Tasmania. It's usually Adelaide that gets picked on. But a few people from Adelaide, yeah. They found where Sydney was. Did they? Yes. So, stop interrupting me. Where was I up to? I forget now. It was worth $1 million to you, but we'll move on. Two legs as opposed to two heads. So a lot of overheads is inefficient staff, but you don't want to be one of them because eventually you'll be found out. You want to become efficient. What you want to do, because people in society thought, oh, when computers come out, we won't need as many people and all these people will lose their jobs. Innovation and improved efficiencies don't necessarily mean people lose their jobs. It means people are restructured in a company to more productive areas that produces a greater result, or in society restructured into more productive areas. So we don't want to hold back improvements, we want to be for them, so you can move into doing things that are less mundane, that can be outsourced and automated, so you can do something that's more stimulating, more valuable, okay? So that's the whole process of society and companies continually innovating and being more effective. And the capitalist society demands that, because if they're not, they'll go broke, okay? So when you see companies failing, is it a good or bad thing? Well, sometimes it just means they weren't efficient. They were once and then become inefficient, become lazy, ineffective. The market gets rid of them and they get replaced generally with a better model, because the bottom model has to be better, okay? So if you're an employee, you want to be efficient. So there are areas that you can increase your income on. So what I did was, that was one of the quickest ways to increase my income. So what I started doing, I started increasing my income. I was earning more than the salary employed people, and I was working less. Instead of working 5 days a week, sometimes they tell me I only work 4 days a week and take Friday off. Now, when you take this time off or you take the week off, you don't necessarily have to take it for a holiday or something like that. You can then take it. A holiday might be just doing something different. So you can set up a secondary career. Because it's something different to what you're normally doing, is exciting, and it's a holiday in itself. So sometimes it's just doing, so then I could build up second and third incomes. I could also start my investment strategies into property and things like that, because I had more time to focus on those things. So I was expanding and diversifying what I did. I was, U-Inc effectively, expanding that. And this was the very beginning that led to that. Now here's the other thing that I did, and you can copy this as well. Once I become effective at what I was doing, I developed a system to be very effective working for my mentors' companies. So then what I did was, I was after leverage. So there's many ways to get leverage. I gave you some ideas of that. Now, one of the keys to becoming successful is to build jot this down, build a team. The most successful people are able to have other people work for them. In other words, you build a team. Now, that's not easy to do, because working and managing and leading people is a very rare skill. And most people can't do it. Most people fall into the trap, especially us control freaks. They're like, I might as well do it myself, because at least I can get it done properly and I can do it quicker than someone else. That's the difficulty of being an entrepreneur, building a team. You've got to be able to manage and make a team of people outperform and do things effectively that they can, so you can let go and expand what you do. Because if it's just about you and your efforts, then you're limiting your income. So you want to be able to build a team, motivate a team, and lead a team. And that's why managers get paid a lot of money if they're good, the ability to manage a team. But entrepreneurs get paid the most money because they're able to get a lot of people working for them. So if you look at someone as an example, say Richard Branson, he has a large amount of teams of people motivated and working. But his motto is keep a team small. So as his companies would grow, and when they got up to 100 people, he'd cut them in half. Because you know what happens when a company gets too big? Guess what starts to happen? Office politics come in. You have to have more managers to manage the people, so your overheads go up, the inefficiencies come in. People tend to work better in small groups because everyone knows what everyone else is doing. As a company gets bigger, you notice, well, who's responsible for this? Well, no one's really sure. So it just falls through the gap. Or it gets frustrating because nothing happens. Who works in a big company where it takes forever to make things to happen? It's frustrating because you can see things, you improve this, it can't move. It's like a big ship slowly turning. Okay, where if you've got a speedboat, you can be over that wave, ducked around here, past the opposition, and score. You can be quick and effective. So even when companies grow, it's always good to have those small teams. They're much more effective, it's much more enjoyable. Also, one thing that Richard Branson learned as an entrepreneur was to create an environment that was fun, because people would work harder if they enjoyed what they did and believed in the company than just for money. And how he learnt that was he first started the student magazine over 30 years ago when he was at university, and he didn't have the money to employ people to put the student magazine together and mail it out to the subscribers. So what he did, he just throw a party at his place, his dormitory, and a lot of the other students would come along for the party and help mail out the student magazine for free. So he realized if you create a fun environment, people will be attracted to it, and you get people to do things for less money. And he carried that through his whole entrepreneurial career. For instance, Virgin Blue to this day in Australia, if you work for Qantas, you'll earn close to $70,000 a year, $68,000 a year as a hostess. You work for Virgin Blue, do the exact same thing, only earn $40,000. Does it make sense? Why? But why do Virgin have people queuing up wanting to work for them and Qantas not as many? When you get paid more money to work for Qantas. So different methodology, but by creating the environment. So if you want to become an entrepreneur where you have to employ people, okay, you want to think about the environment you create means people often work for less because they enjoy their work more. Other people, they hate their work. They go, I'm only going to do this if I get paid more money. That's what you start to create. Who's following what I'm saying there? And people go, because most people relate money to pain of working. I want to be compensated. Money is the compensation for giving away my life, for selling my life. Okay? So what I mean by team, once you get effective at what you can do, I built a team within the company I was working for. I put a proposal to my mentor who owned the company. I said, here's what I want to do. I want to expand the team, no risk to you. Allow me to build a team. I will train them. They'll be all performance-based, and there's no cost to you. And that way, if we perform, you make more money. If not, it's no loss to you. It'll be my time and energy that wasted. So then I was able to duplicate myself and build a team. So then, instead of being 1 week, what I was creating was semi-passive, now passive income. So first of all, I earned more income in a shorter period of time. So it's still active income, but earning that money in 3 days a week instead of, say, 5, or 3 weeks out of 4. Now what I was doing is creating semi-passive income. I could have a team of people leveraging, etc., and I'd make a percentage of that, and that's semi-passive. I'd still have to manage them, but I could not always have to be there. So effectively, I was now making income while I slept effectively. All of a sudden, I had lifestyle. I had income coming in and several incomes coming in that I didn't need to be there for. Does that make sense? Far quicker than from investment strategies. Then with that surplus income, and that's what I put into investment strategies. So my point, what I'm trying to highlight is investment strategies are one way to get passive income. Your career and multiple forms of income is often the fastest way to get passive or semi-passive income. So let me ask you this question. Who here already works on a contract, performance contract basis as opposed to in salary basis? Who already does that? Okay, a few people. And keep your hand up if you found that to be effective. Who's found your income's gone up by doing that? Yep. And who found that they work less? Okay. Some may work more, but you're getting paid more. Okay. Some of you go, I work actually more doing that. Okay. Now, who's done this next step? Who's actually been on a contract performance base, and in your industry, you might be a builder, but instead of just doing all the work yourself, you built a team of builders. You might be an electrician, and you built a team of electricians. You might be a doctor, and you built medical centres and have other doctors working for you. You might be a chiropractor. See the concept here? You're going from being the employee to becoming the owner. Okay? Who's done that already? Who's developed a team and got leverage out of what you do? Okay? A couple of people. So a lot of you got something to look forward to. Okay? In other words, you want to replicate you. It's not just money at work, it's people at work. Now somebody's saying, Jamie, I'm not interested in any of that. I just want an internet business that I don't have to employ people, that brings money in while I'm sleeping, and all I want to do is get emails saying, my website's made another sale, you'll just earn X amount of money. Who likes the idea of that? Okay? Sounds a hell of a lot simpler. So the internet is a powerful way to eliminate the need for staff. So it becomes very efficient because you don't need staff. You don't need that overhead, and makes it highly profitable. So that's what we're going to look at after lunch as well. But I don't want you to neglect these areas, because these are areas in your own career. You can accelerate your income by thinking about these different things. Okay?